state-of-the-art Erickson Stadium in downtown Charlotte, North Carolina, as we get set for this intriguing interleague matchup between the Kansas City Chiefs and the defending NFC West champion, Carolina Panthers. Hi, everyone. I'm Dan Hicks along with Jim Moore, and this is an intriguing matchup. And we look at these two teams, they really seem to mirror each other. Let's start with the two young, talented quarterbacks, Kerry Collins and Elvis Gerbach.
Well, these fellas do have a lot of similarities. The first thing is they're both big. They're physical. They're 6'5", 235 pounds. They're both very tough players. They're leaders. Their teammates have a lot of respect for them. I think the difference is Elvis Gerbach spent 4 years with the San Francisco 49ers. He played behind Steve Young. He learned a lot there. He's a little bit more mature, a little further along right now. Kerry Collins started as a rookie 3 years ago. He's a little less disciplined, a little less mature. But the thing that both these players do, Dan, is they're winners.
And the similarities continue on the other side of the ball because both of these offenses really feed off of their defenses, and really probably no other team in the league does it more than the Carolina Panthers. And if they're to get back to the NFC Championship game, you have to believe that it's going to be the defense that's going to get them back there.
No question about that. The Carolina defense attacks, and their two main attackers are Michael Barrow and Lamar Lathan. They're two outside linebackers. Barrow came in as an inside linebacker. They moved him to outside linebacker. He says that's like being in first class. You got more leg room. He loves it out there. Lathan did not play last week. He's only got 1 sack. He's back this week after coming back from knee surgery. He was second in the NFL last year with 13.5 sacks. He's ready to get back on track.
So the Panther defense welcomes him back while Kansas City Chiefs play for the second game in a row without the 8-time Pro Bowler Derek Thomas, out with a torn tricep. He will miss just the 4th game in his entire NFL career. Back for the kickoff in Charlotte, it is Carolina and KC coming up. Well, the Panther fans have been waiting a long time for this. They lost their very first game at Erickson Stadium in the opener against Washington. And so more than 70,000 very vocal as Kansas City wins a toss, elects to receive. John Casey kicks to Tamarick Vanover, who had the 94-yard kickoff return for a touchdown last week. Brings it out across the 25-yard line, but an early flag already is down. Special teams tackle made by Rod Smith on Vanover. Elvis Gerbach coming out. Instant respect from his teammates. Voted the team offensive captain. They love his leadership. Up front for him, the strength is in the middle with Zott, Grunhard, and Shields. In fact, Marty Schottenheimer calls Zott the best offensive lineman he has ever had. Backs and receivers, Greg Hill, the featured back, taking over for Marcus Hill after being behind him for 3 years. Anders, the 2-time Pro Bowler, and the new wide receivers, Andre Rison and Brett Perriman, along with a former 49er at tight end, Ted Popson. So with the penalty, it brings Kansas City back to begin things at the 7-yard line, first down and 10. And Gerbach hands it off to Greg Hill, who is met immediately for maybe a yard gain. The Carolina defense is the heart and soul of its team. 7 sacks last week against San Diego. Up front, Fox, Cragen, and Williams, but the big story is Lamar Lathan back at outside linebacker after missing last week after arthroscopic knee surgery. They really like Andre Royal. Corners are Davis and Poole. Safeties Cota and Terrell. And there is a look at the Pro Bowler Lathan. On second down and 10, Gerbach to the air for the first time, and in and out of the hands of Greg Hill. And while we have time, Jim, what are the game plans for both these teams early on?
Well, I'll tell you, with Kansas City here on offense, Dan, everything they do today offensively is predicated on slowing down or stopping Carolina's zone blitzes. So in order to do this, they got to run the ball on first and second down. They got to stay out of long yardage situations, and they got to be able to handle adversity, because there's going to be some tough plays on them. Carolina, on the other hand, has got to stop the run. They've got to stop the run. They got to get Kansas City in long yardage situations so they can go after them, get sacks and turnovers.
Well, this is one of those long yardage situations. Third down and 10. Ball at the 8-yard line. Gerbach has some time. That is intercepted. No. It was intended for Andre Rison. So that'll bring up fourth down and an obvious punting situation for the Chiefs.
He's throwing here to Andre Rison, and he's the go-to guy. He's the guy that they're going to be throwing to most of the time. Eric Davis had good coverage on him there, and this is going to be a big matchup today with those wide receivers on those two cornerbacks, Davis and Tyrone Poole.
Louis Aguiar backed up in his own end zone. Never had a punt blocked. And there is Tyrone Poole, number 38, who stands to get the Panthers pretty good field position. Not a great punt by Aguiar. Poole takes it at the 43-yard line, dances around at the 45, and is brought down quickly at the 48. 49-yard punt by Aguiar, and just a 3-yard return by Poole. Kerry Collins back for the first time since the broken jaw last week. Threw a couple of touchdown passes, and the offense seems to respond to this young quarterback. A change up front at left tackle. It is Blake Brockemeyer in for the injured Matthew Campbell at left tackle. Campbell out with an ankle, but Brockemeyer has played plenty and started plenty for Carolina. Anthony Johnson, still limited carries this year, continues to battle a sore toe. Big change. You saw Ray Carruth starting in his very first NFL start. Rookie out of Colorado. Muhsin Muhammad is out with an injured wrist for up to 4 weeks, so a big loss there. Collins flips it out to Scott Green in the flat for a gain of 5 or 6 on the very first play from scrimmage for Carolina. Kansas City's defense features some new faces and some great speed. You've got Booker, Phillips, and Browning up front. Browning, Marty Schottenheimer says, is our best defensive lineman. Pella McDaniels, though, for the second straight week, fills in for Derek Thomas out with a torn tricep. Terry Wooden, the former Seahawk, is there. And there is Derek Thomas, who misses just the 4th game of his entire career. They want to make sure he is almost 100% back before they put him back in the lineup. Straight up the middle is Anthony Johnson, close to a first down, but another flag is down at the 45. And what about the game plan for Carolina?
Well, what Carolina's got to do offensively, Dan, they got to do what they do as well as anybody in the league, and that's run the ball with patience. They've got to run it and pound you. They've also, though, got to get some big plays going in both the running game and the passing game to get in the end zone. They haven't done very well in the red zone, and the key guy down there for them is Wesley Walls. Kansas City on defense, they've got to not let Carolina just pound them. You know, they can't let Carolina just control the clock. They want that offense back in the field.
Number 34. Blow to the head of the offense. 15 yards. First down.
That is a costly penalty on Dale Carter, who was on the coverage of Ray Carruth. And look at that.
Oh, yeah, you know what?
Whoa.
That's not good right there. Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator for Kansas City, said they were going to play more press, bump and run type coverage like that, but you can't slap the guy in the head like Dale Carter did that time. Now, he's probably trying to make a statement. He says, the first play, I'm going to get up on this young rookie, Ray Carruth. I'm going to do something physical, intimidate him a little bit, but he got caught that time.
And a costly penalty, so now the ball is all the way down at the Chief 28-yard line. And a 1st and 10 for Carolina. Opening moments here, 2 minutes in. Wesley Walls, Collins' favorite target, sets up on the right side. That is Carruth in motion to the near side. Fake handoff to Johnson. Pressure from the backside on Collins, and that was number 50, Anthony Davis, who came around from his outside linebacker position.
Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator, told us that he's changed his philosophy a little bit. He likes to blitz now. He wasn't a big blitzing type coach in the past, but he's got more speed on defense this year, especially in that linebacker position. So he's going to come after people, and he did it in that play there with Anthony Davis, number 50.
2nd down and 10. Gets the carry, and when we talked with the coaching staff, as he continues to carry chief tacklers close to the 20-yard line, he has not been himself. Still trying to come back from the right big toe, which he had surgery on 8 months ago. And in fact, he's looking at second opinions. It's been so frustrating for him.
Yeah, he's their main guy, though, you know. And Marty Schottenheimer told us yesterday, he says, what we got to do on defense against the running game is we got to tackle those backs and push them back. We can't let them fall forward. They didn't do a very good job that time on Anthony Johnson.
Well, Fred Lane is now in the backfield. 3rd down and 3 for Carolina. And the pitch goes to Fred Lane, left side, looking for first down yardage, and I believe he picked it up all the way down. They will spot it at about the 13 or 14-yard line, and that is a first down picked up by Fred Lane, brought down by John Browning. Lane, a rookie free agent out of Lane College.
Fred Lane was one of the big surprises of training camp for the Carolina football team. Again, like you said, Dan, he was a free agent. They didn't draft him. Nobody drafted him, but he was really impressive in training camp in the preseason, and he's getting a lot of playing time early in the regular season.
His ACT and his SAT scores weren't high enough to go to Division I, so he ended up at Lane College. His dad playing a big role in that. And Lane gets the carry again. In fact, his dad's college teammate was Craig Gilliam, the brother of Joe Gilliam, the former Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback, who was the head coach at Lane College. And Fred's dad got together with him and said, can you give the kid a place to prove himself, get back on track? And he did it, and he's really been, like you said, a great story.
He's got good speed, and plus he's a strong runner. He's not very big, but he's a strong runner. They like to use him on goal line and short yardage plays.
Second down and 7. This is the 7th play of this drive. Collins to the air and almost intercepted, and it is. James Hasty picks up the deflection from his teammate, and a flag has been thrown as Hasty comes out of bounds. And, well, you saw Hasty there.
Looks like he got a little bit too emotional at the end of the play there. The Chiefs have done a great job so far this season in the red zone area.
I believe it was Reggie Tongue who tipped the ball into James Hasty's hands.
There it is right there. Right there, and Hasty gets the interception.
And the Chiefs thwart Carolina's first potential scoring drive, not without some antics on the sideline. We'll be right back.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Acura, the true definition of luxury. Yours. By Ericsson, be ready for anything with a reliable Ericsson cellular phone. By KFC, home of Colonel Strips. When you're on the go, everybody needs a little KFC. And by Cigna, a business of caring.
Now a look at James Hasty, and he was flagged for the unsportsmanlike penalty after picking off Collins. Here's another look, Jim.
That's Reggie Tongue right there getting the tip, and there's James Hasty right there picking off the pass. It's a nice return. It's a nice turnover down there in the red zone area, but you've got to keep your poise a little bit right there. He felt that Kerry Collins hit him out of bounds, so he spiked the ball. They threw the flag on him.
So the 15 yards backs up Kansas City now on its 11-yard line. Their second series of this opening quarter. And it is Greg Hill who gets the carry, and he, of course, like any running back, Jim, would like more carries. He's averaging better than 5 a pop so far this season.
The whole team, the Kansas City offense, is averaging 5.3 yards per rushing attempt, which was one of the top figures in the National Football League after 3 games. And like you say, like all backs, he wants the football. His eyes light up when he's going to get the ball.
A look at Hill's numbers this season. Second down and 10. He tries it again up the middle and stopped abruptly by Carolina up front. Andre Royal, who picked up his first 3 NFL sacks last week that tied a team record, in on the stop of Hill.
Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for Carolina, told us that he thought that Andre Royal has been one of the most pleasant surprises this year for their football team.
He's the beneficiary, Jim, of Kevin Green leaving. Barrow went to the outside, and now Andre Royal starts, and he's taking full advantage of it. Third down. Gerbach looping it, just throwing it away, intended for Rison as a flag falls at the 9. Tyrone Poole on the coverage. And the holding call against Kansas City certainly will be declined. Bring up 4th down in Kansas City.
Holding, number 61 of the offense. Penalty declined, 4th down.
And that brings up the 4th down after the holding call by the center Grunhard. So Aguiar, for the second straight time, will be backed up deep, and Carolina will have another chance for some good field position. First punt for Aguiar, who's been averaging almost 45 yards in punt, was 50. Angles this one to the right side, takes a nice bounce. Poole fields it at the 29 and gets no further than that. So Carolina will start its second offensive series of this game and try to hang on to the ball this time. We'll be right back.
This is the NFL on NBC.
Mentioned Kerry Collins back at quarterback for Carolina just for the second time after the jaw-breaking incident in the preseason as Denver's Bill Romanowski came from the blind side and just leveled Collins underneath the chin. Since then, he has had a special helmet outfitted with a special face mask to try to protect that, but he's also had to deal with 4 metal plates, 2 on each side of his face. It was not a pleasant experience, the surgery, dealing with that. Now he's back in the line of fire for the second week.
One thing it did, though, it made him lose 10 pounds, Dan, and he feels a little bit more comfortable at this weight.
Well, you do that on a diet of mashed potatoes and yogurt. Kerry Collins did lose 10 pounds during the comeback from the broken jaw. 1st and 10 for Carolina. And Collins swings out the screen to Anthony Johnson. That's a nice play up to the 38-yard line for a good gain of 8 or so. Anthony Johnson just 5 carries last week. Again, the limited play because of that right big toe that continues to bother him. He's used painkillers to try to get himself ready to play. But again, the Panther coaching staff says we really don't know how much he'll play.
That's right. It all depends upon how he does early. If he gets it stepped on or something like that, he probably won't play very much.
2nd down and 2. Give it to Johnson again. He will be stopped short of the 1st down. That'll bring up 3rd down and short as a host of Chiefs were there to meet him up front.
You'll see the Kansas City Chiefs defensive linemen are really in an attacking mode. If you watch them, you'll see them coming off the ball and getting into the Carolina offensive linemen quickly. And this is their philosophy that they've instituted this season, attacking on defense. And those defensive linemen want to get into those offensive linemen quickly. They want to make the first hit.
So on 3rd down and short, Fred Lane has replaced Johnson in the backfield behind Scott Green, the fullback, and they give it to Fred Lane. Will he get there? They needed less than a yard, and that might be close. But it appears they're going to give him the good spot. 1st down, Carolina. They like Fred Lane to come in there in short yardage situations.
The important thing here, too, Dan, is that they were in a 3rd and short situation. What Kansas City wants to do today is put Carolina in 3rd and long situations so they have to throw the football. Right there, Carolina got in a situation where they could run it on 3rd and short.
Ball just across the 40-yard line. 2nd series of this game for Carolina. Caruth, the rookie, in motion to the far side. And again, they keep it on the ground. Little flea flicker. Johnson back to Collins. Floats it up toward Ray Caruth, but that play really had no chance of working.
Well, they're coming out early here with some trick plays, and this is the flea flicker where they give the ball to the running back, number 23, Johnson, then he flips it back to Kerry Collins, number 12. Now, the thing right there, Kerry probably shouldn't have thrown that ball where he threw it. He saw that he was going to get hit or get sacked, and just zinging it up there like he did, he takes a chance of getting an interception. He'd have been better off throwing it out of bounds into the sideline.
That was 59, Donnie Edwards, who pressured Collins, and you talk about a team high on a defensive player. Kansas City loves Donnie Edwards, a second-year player out of UCLA who pressured Collins. Fred Lane, right side, across the 40, stretching for more yardage, but that will bring up 3rd down.
You know, we talked to their coaches yesterday, Dan, and they mentioned the fact that on offense they have to get more big plays, and they feel like Fred Lane gives them the big play potential. He's got good speed. He's a tough runner, maybe more of a guy that can break one more so than Anthony Johnson.
So 3rd down and a long 8 for Carolina. Still scoreless in this opening quarter. 6:50 left. Pressure on Collins. Gets rid of it, though. Short of the 1st down. Dale Carter wrestles Ray Caruth out of bounds, and Carolina will have to punt it away.
Well, Kansas City is going to blitz Collins here from the right side. You don't see this on your screen. All they're trying to do here is get the first down. And Caruth goes down there, and he's a rookie, and he didn't quite get the first down. He's got to get a little past that first down marker, and he didn't do that. As a result, they came up just a little bit short and have to punt the football.
So Ken Walter, who leads the NFC in net punting yards, ready for his first punt of the game, and the always dangerous Tamarick Vanover at his 12-yard line. And this one sails out of bounds, so when we come back, Kansas City will have it 1st and 10 from the 17. Dan Hicks and Jim Mora back at Ericsson Stadium, and we had a feeling this would be a low-scoring contest. Still looking for the first score, and a look at your key matchups.
Well, the first one there, Reggie Tung, the strong safety for Kansas City, has got to do a good job on Wesley Walls. Wesley Walls is the big offensive threat for the Carolina Panthers. A matchup that Carolina really likes is their two outside linebackers, Lamar Lathan and Michael Barrow, on two new offensive tackles, Criswell and Parker. And again, special teams is going to be a big factor in this ball game. Vanover for the Chiefs, Bates for the Panthers. Right there are two of the best return men in the league, and those coverage teams have got to do a good job.
It has been a two dismal offensive series for Kansas City. They have got just a total of 3 yards as Gerbach swings it out to Popson, the tight end, the former 49er, and he's got the first down for Kansas City as they finally get a little bit of breathing room.
Well, these are two players that are familiar with each other. Here's number 48, Ted Popson. This is a bootleg action, and he's going to block down like he did there, and he's going to come out into the flat, and Gerbach's going to hit him with the pass in the flat off the bootleg action.
Popson, the former backup to Brent Jones in San Francisco, playing with the Niners from 94 to 96, so Gerbach is familiar with him. Greg Hill trying to turn the corner around the left side, and the Panthers defense is there to meet him. Great pursuit. Chad Cota came up from his strong safety position to lead it.
Chad Cota is the leading tackler on this Carolina defensive team through the first 3 games of the season. A lot of times you say, well, if a safety or a defensive backer is a leading tackler, that doesn't look too good. But they use Chad Cota a lot up in the run defense. He plays a lot up close to the defensive line, so he gets in on a lot of run plays, and that's why he's the leading tackler. He's been the leading tackler every game this year.
Loss of 4. Play action for Gerbach. And again, it's Popson. And Popson gets back up to the 35, but that will still bring up 3rd down and long. Elvis Gerbach, we mentioned in the open, Jim, how much respect this Kansas City Chiefs team is. Here's a guy that came in really for his first NFL starting quarterback job, got voted by his teammates as the offensive captain. He really was impressive when we talked to him yesterday as well.
Very impressive. A lot of confidence and a lot of poise. That's what I saw in him, and I've seen that on film going into this game, and I see it today.
So prepared. See what he can do here on 3rd and long. Firing to Rison, and it's almost intercepted. That was Eric Davis, who had the ball for a moment in front of Rison.
What they're trying to do is get the first down, so they're going to bring Rison down and get the first down. They need about 7 yards, but Anthony Davis has excellent coverage. He reads the pattern well. Should have had the interception. That would have given Carolina great field position.
Eric Davis, former 49er, sets up the punting situation again for Kansas City. 3rd straight time they have punted it away, and Aguiar, again to Tyrone Poole, calls for the fair catch at the last second at the 26. So still looking for our first score here in Charlotte. Kansas City and Carolina scoreless, 4:02 left in the first quarter, and a look at the ageless Sam Mills, 38 years old, and Jim, you go back with him as you do a lot of players on this field today. In fact, the 1985 USFL Championship, he won a couple of titles with the Philadelphia Stars, and there is Sam Mills making the nice tackle right there.
Number 54, there he is right there. Sam Mills is the best football player I've ever coached. Oh yeah, I'm a little less gray right there.
And we mentioned it's been Jim Mora homecoming week this week at Ericsson Stadium. Not only Mills, but plenty of other players with connections to you. Wesley Walls, Turnbull, Toy Cook, Les Miller, and the coaches, Capers, Fangio, and Pendry, the coordinators, both inspired by you early in their careers, Jim, as Anthony Johnson gets the carry. In fact, Dom Capers, you and Dom Capers go all the way back to the University of Washington.
1975, it was Don James's first year as the head coach there. I was the defensive coordinator, and Dom Capers was a graduate assistant for us. He was there 1 year. We worked very closely together, and he left and became an assistant at San Jose State.
And later served for you as a coach for the New Orleans Saints. Anthony Johnson again. He had great praise for the influence you had on his career. He spent 8 years with you, 2 years with the Stars, and 6 more years with the Saints. He said, I would not be here coaching in the NFL today if it wasn't for Jim Moore.
Well, I gave him a start, but you know what you got to do when you get an opportunity is make the most of that opportunity, and that's what Dom Capers has done. He had head coach written on him right from the very beginning. He's extremely well organized, a hard worker, and is doing a tremendous job here at Carolina.
Well, his team faced with this key 3rd down and 3 from the 23. Neither offense able to get really anything going, and this play stops as flags come in.
And number 43, Scott Green, the fullback, was moving right before the snap.
Dale Hamer, the referee.
Full start on the offense. 18 and 43. 5 yards. Still 3rd down.
Not only Green, the second-year man, but Ray Caruth, the rookie, who we mentioned getting his very first NFL start today.
They really like Ray Caruth, the offensive coaches for Carolina. He was their #1 draft pick this year from the University of Colorado, and they feel like he gives them some big play potential, which they haven't had in their wide receiver core up to this point.
On 3rd down and 8, Caruth heads out to the right side. Ernie Mills split out to the left. And that is Raghib Ismail in motion, now heading back up. And the blitz trying to get it out to Ernie Mills, incomplete. So Collins faced with some great pressure there by Kansas City, and again they're forced to punt. That was Mark McMillan at 5'7", providing the pressure from his corner position.
Well, when you bring a guy like Mark McMillan, who's only 5'7", then it shows you kind of what kind of toughness he has. But you know, they talk about the Carolina blitzing all the time. Kansas City likes to get after you too. They like to come at you with the blitz on 3rd down.
So Ken Walter to punt. Vanover looking for another opportunity at the 34. This time a nice hanging punt. Vanover backpedals to the 26 and heads left. Gets a good block at about the 35-yard line, and an excellent return by Vanover, who gets it up to the 42. Remember, he had the 94-yard kickoff return last week. Now let's go to Greg Gumbel in New York. Scoring update.
All right, Dan, at the Meadowlands, whatever you question about Jeff George, never question that right arm. Watch this rocket on the money to James Jett. 56 yards and a touchdown, but the Raiders blew the extra point. Their lead over the Jets is 6-0 in the first quarter, Dan.
Okay, thank you, Greg. No score here in Charlotte, Carolina, and Kansas City. Chiefs trying to get something going, trying to take advantage of the excellent Vanover return, as Marcus Allen gets his very first carry of the game. Well, we talked about how Sam Mills is ageless at 38. How about Marcus Allen at age 37? This will be his final NFL season in his 16th year, and the obligatory look at Marcus's milestones that, who knows, may never be broken.
112 rushing touchdowns, 577 receptions for a running back. Those are amazing statistics.
And he's still the lone back, getting the carry, searching, picking for the hole. A flag comes in at the 50 as Marcus tries to salvage what he can out of that. Andre Royal coming up for Carolina.
Number 69, 10 yards, repeat 2nd down.
Holding on the left tackle, Criswell. 3rd penalty, now 45 yards for Kansas City in penalties today.
There's Mark Criswell right there, the left tackle. Jeff Criswell, the left tackle, and he's holding there on number 98, Gerald Williams.
Now the strength of that chief offensive line is definitely up the middle. Criswell and Parker will be tested throughout by this Carolina defense this afternoon. Second down, and the give up the middle to Greg Hill. Well, check that. That's number 38, Kimball Anders, who gets his very first carry of the game. Anders, another compliment to this Kansas City offense. Two-time Pro Bowler, brought down by Toy Cook.
Well, they've got him in second and long right here, so they feel that Carolina is going to be in a pass rush mode with their defensive linemen and what they're going to do. And in fact, they're blitzing number 58, Andre Royal, so they're just going to give the ball to Anders there on a quick handoff, and he picks up pretty good yardage.
Now that brings up another third down and 7 from the 45. Straight drop by Gerbach, flips it out to Anders. Can he get the first down? Yes, and a lot more inside the 40. He's got one man to beat, veers across the right side, and Kimball Anders stretches for the touchdown. 55 yards.
This is a screen play to Anders, Dan, and what Carolina was doing, they were blitzing up the middle, up inside, and they threw the screen to Anders out on the flat, and there was nobody out there to cover him. This was one of their patented zone blitzes, rushing 5 people, covering with 6, but there was nobody in that flat zone. Anders made a good reception and a heck of a run.
That is his second touchdown reception of the year, and it is Pete Stoyanovich who adds the extra point. With just 38 seconds left, Kansas City strikes in a hurry on a big play to Anders.
There's Anders right there. They fake the run to him. He slips out into the flat. Got a nice job there with the lineman downfield blocking. Get some good blocks on the secondary people to Carolina. He makes a nice cutback run coming across there and gets into the end zone.
Tyrone Poole had a shot at him, as did Eric Davis, but that was a nice cutback by Anders.
Real good block there by Danon Hughes. Well, it wasn't so good there. He ducked his head and should have had a good block, but he didn't quite get him down.
So that's the 4th touchdown toss of the season for Gerbach. And Kansas City out in front 7-0 with just 38 seconds left. It took just 3 plays, 58 yards, keyed by the 55-yard screen pass to Anders.
Thing you don't want to do on defense, and I think both these teams pride themselves on playing great defenses. You don't want to give up the big play. You want to make people work for everything they get, and that was an example right there of giving up the big play. Kimball Anders is one of the leading receivers of this Kansas City offense. They love to throw the football to him. He's got good hand. Yeah, one of the leading receivers as a running back in the National Football League. Got good hands, and once he gets his hands on the ball, he's able to make good runs in the open field like he did on that touchdown run.
Well, you saw Dom Capers giving his defensive unit a little pep talk there on the sidelines. As Pete Stoyanovich will now kick off. There's the scoring drive. Has not exactly been his strength, the kickoffs. And this is Michael Bates, another dangerous return man, but a nice tackle in the open field by 49, Tony Richardson. A flag has been thrown and a holding call against the Panthers. Well, the NFL season extends to the World Wide Web on NFL.com, the league's official website. You can visit NFL.com for all of the scores and stats, including a complete roundup of this weekend's scores in action, plus chat live with some of the NFL's biggest stars. It's all at NFL.com.
Kansas City, Dan, up to this point, has done a real good job of blocking the Carolina blitzes, giving Gerbach time to throw. And that was the case on that screen there where they made the touchdown.
So Carolina backed up at its 12, first down and 10. Collins goes to work. And the handoff straight up the middle to Anthony Johnson. Good second effort by Johnson. as the waning seconds tick off here in the first quarter. Has not been very impressive by either team on offense, except for the big scoring play by Kansas City. But this is what we expected.
Right, exactly. We expected a low-scoring game, a defensive game, and this is what we're getting.
End of the first quarter. The Carolina Panthers trailing Kansas City 7-0. And we're back for the second quarter right after this. Now there's a look at number 85, the tight end for Carolina, and the favorite target of Kerry Collins. He has yet to catch a pass today, Jim.
That's really surprising to me because he's the leading receiver for this team coming into this game, and he's the guy that Collins likes to look for anytime.
And they're very good friends. They do a lot of things in the offseason. In fact, it was Wesley who was telling us about Kerry Collins' very first deer hunt down in Mississippi, and you got the feeling that the country boy taught Kerry a few things about that.
That's true, and you know, he took him out and he said that he didn't think Collins had ever been hunting before. He said, in fact, he had to show him how to shoot the gun. But Collins did get a deer. He did get a deer.
And there he is pulling the trigger of a different kind, and it's complete for a first down for Carolina to Caruth. So again, they continue to go to the rookie out of Colorado for 11 yards, and Walls continues to be without a catch.
Well, Collins does a good job there of looking right first and then coming back to Caruth on the left side. Obviously, the coverage on the right side was good, so he came back to Caruth. He knew where he was, and they got a good pickup of yardage there.
Ray Caruth, who was an outstanding receiver for Colorado, averaged 20 yards a catch in his senior year in Boulder. Picks up a first down for Collins, stands in the pocket, and down he will go by number 71, Tom Barnt. So the first sack of the game is for Kansas City's defense.
Well, this is a coverage sack because Collins has some time initially to find somebody, but he's back there. There's nobody open, so there's somebody in that secondary and a good job. And there's number 71, Tom Barnt, getting him down for the sack.
Tom Barnt, 6th-round draft pick a couple of years ago. And another member of this Kansas City defense. They've inserted also second-year players at the safety positions as the youth movement continues to happen for the Chiefs. Second down and long now, and now Anthony Johnson is dropped in the backfield by Von Booker for another loss as we head to New York, and Greg Gumbel for another update.
All right, Dan, we'll take you to Memphis to the Liberty Bowl. Steve McNair engineers a pretty good first quarter drive, 7 for 7 throwing, and the capper, a 36-yard touchdown pass to Frank Wycheck with the extra point. 7-3 Oilers and the Ravens in the waning seconds of the first quarter, Dan.
Okay, Greg, 13 minutes and left here in the first half. Carolina trying to come back and catch the Kansas City Chiefs, but a long third down here, and 16 for Collins to the air. And this one, it is complete to Ray Caruth. His first NFL start, but Collins has gone to him a lot.
There's Caruth right there, and he's matched up with Dale Carter. And Dale Carter was in bump and run, a press coverage, which they feel like they do better than anybody. But Caruth has got great speed. He ran right by Carter, got the reception.
3 catches, 56 yards for the rookie Caruth. That one good for 34, and Carolina's offense has finally begun to wake up. They're now in Kansas City territory, set up at the 43, sweep right side. And this time it is Anthony Johnson. Swarmed over. Actually, that was Fred Lane, number 32, who got the call.
Kansas City defense has been very impressive today against the Carolina run. As you mentioned earlier, Dan, they've got great speed on that defense. Gunther Cunningham, their defensive coordinator, told us last night that this is the fastest defense he's ever been around as a football coach. Their linebackers, Edwards and Davis, these guys can really run.
Here's a look at Gunther Cunningham, who had that now famous series call against Buffalo in the waning moments last week. He said he was absolutely exhausted after calling 4 blitzes in a row on Buffalo to pull that game off. Collins to the air again, and to Caruth, and what a catch by Ray Caruth, complete at the 36. Dale Carter continues to cover the rookie, but Carruth is beating him so far.
Again, they're in press coverage. There's Carter in press coverage on Carruth, and this is a great throw by Collins. You see that throw to the outside right by the sideline? There's no way you can defend that. Carter has pretty good coverage, but that's a tremendous throw and a good catch by Carruth.
Collins says the rookie sometimes gets a little creative in his pass routes, but he's gone to him successfully today. Third down. Carruth again, this time in and out of his hands. Carter all over him, and Carruth and some of the crowd here looking for perhaps an interference call on Carter, but none is there.
Here again, they're working the same coverage with Carter, press coverage right up on Carruth. Carruth does a good job of releasing. They should have had a flag there. You saw that Carter had his hand and was grabbing the shoulder of Carruth. Should have been a flag.
So this will be a 54-yard attempt by John Casey, who has come out red hot again this year. He's made 8 of 9 field goals. His only miss was a 55-yarder. But that one is off the mark, wide to the right. So Casey misses from 54, and Carolina still looking for its first points.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Volkswagen. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers. By IBM, solutions for a small planet. By Coors Light, who reminds you the 3 most important words are hay, beer, man. And by AT&T, it's all within your reach.
Welcome back to Charlotte. A look at Marty Schottenheimer in his 9th year. And some may say, Jim, that he's a little reluctant to make changes. But this year he did make some changes, not only on defense, but on offense. 12 total new starters. And a look at the changed men on offense at the skill positions.
Right. I think Marty felt like he needed to get some big play people at the wide receiver spots, at the tight end spot, at running back. And he put Greg Hill in there as a starter, as a running back who had been with the team. But Gerback and Risen and Perryman and Popson are all new to the football team this year.
And there is a look at Andre Rison, split to the left. Instead, they give it to Marcus Allen, looking for a hole. Not much there at all. Just gets across the 45-yard line, and that'll bring up second down.
You talked earlier, Dan, about Marcus Allen, this being his last year. He's already said that he's going to retire after this year. He can still play, and if he wanted to play some more, he could still play and can still contribute. He's an amazing guy that he's been able to do what he's been able to, and what he's done here for as many years as he's been in the league.
Well, the man that backed him up for 3 years, Greg Hill, certainly has some praising words for Marcus. As Allen gets the carry and stretches for the first down to the 45-yard line. He just streaks right up the middle before Lamar Lathan was there to stop him.
Well, this is just a quick hitting play right up the middle, and they've got the nose guard right there, Craig, and he's slanting to the left. So Marcus Allen hits it on the other side, and there's a good gain. Somebody's got to fill that hole when that nose man slants to one side, to that A gap to the right side.
And with the Chiefs up front, very strong with Zach, Grunhard, and Shields, we may see a little more of that. Gerbach going up top, downfield. Brett Perriman incomplete. Coverage by Eric Davis.
Well, Perryman's one of those new players that Marty Schottenheimer brought in to give him some big play potential. But Eric Davis right there is up in press coverage, and he's got real good coverage on Perryman. That's a good job by Davis there.
Perriman has been slow to work his way into the Kansas City offense. Has dealt with a number of injuries before, but missed most of camp with a hamstring. And Paul Hackett, the offensive coordinator, was telling us that we're just about there with Perriman. We've been there with Andre Rison and Elvis Gerbach, but we're just about ready to crank this up, this offense. Gerbach, second down. Looking to the near side, and this one's complete to Rison. And Rison out of bounds for another Kansas City first down, all the way down at the 14-yard line. Gain of 28.
You're going to see Rison on the right side of your screen. He's working on Tyrone Poole. You can't see it, but what he does, he makes a nice little in move initially to get Poole committed inside, then breaks to the sideline, and he's wide open.
Rison, his 5th team in 4 seasons, actually his 4th team in the last 14 months. He's been all over the place, but Hackett was telling us it's been an advantage that Rison and Gerbach came into the system at the same time together.
That's right, that they're learning together. They're learning each other together.
Play action. Gerbach rolling to the right, looking for the end zone, and he's got the touchdown to Rison.
One of the things that Kansas City really likes about Gerbach is the fact that he's mobile, he's active, he's not just a big guy that goes back there and can't move around. And right there, they had him rolling out to the right. It buys him a little bit of time. And there's Rison right there. He's running a crossing route. Carolina was in man coverage. Crossing routes are good against man coverage. They got the touchdown.
And that is the second touchdown reception for Rison as a Chief. Pete Stoyanovich again to tack on the extra point. And Kansas City all of a sudden has got its offense picking up big chunks of yards. 14-zip Chiefs. Well, it's been some big plays on offense for Kansas City at the end of the first quarter. 55-yard touchdown reception to Kimball Anders, and then just a moment ago, Gerbach on the mark to Andre Rison for an 18-yard score to make it 14-0. Stoyanovich to kick off a low kick, and Michael Bates takes it on a hop from the 7. Bates upended. Nice special teams tackle again made by number 49, Tony Richardson. Back to the touchdown by Rison, Jim.
Kansas City does a good job here. You can see they take Marcus Allen right there, and they're going to put him in motion. And what that does is it draws the secondary of the Carolina Panthers to rotate that way. Here comes Rison right there coming across. And that's left corner over there. Eric Davis should have been back in that zone, but he fit on that outside route, and Rison was wide open.
A penalty was called against Kansas City, a face mask on the return by Michael Bates. So Carolina will get much better field position this time at the 39-yard line. And again, as Kerry Collins comes out, again, we have to wonder why Wesley Walls has not been a part of the offense for Carolina to this point.
Well, they're down 14 points, so they're going to have to get him involved. They're going to have to throw the football, and he's the key guy.
9:18 left in this opening half. Carolina in a 14-0 hole at home against Kansas City. Collins right to the air, slings it across to Scott Green for a gain of 3 or 4. Scott Green, the 6th-round draft pick last year out of Michigan State.
Yeah. One of the reasons that Walls has not caught any passes is because he's being well covered. Take a look at number 59 right there, Donnie Edwards. He's right on Walls there. Plus, they've got a safety behind him right there, number 25, Woods.
Second down at 6. And on the ground, Anthony Johnson. Not much there, but Wesley Walls leads the tight ends in receiving yards in the NFL and also touchdown receptions coming into this game with 3.
He's the main guy when they get down inside the opponent's 20 with the red zone area. He's the guy that Collins looks for. I think one of the reasons he hasn't caught any balls, I think that the Kansas City Chiefs are doing a good job in coverage on him. They're taking him out of the ball game.
Well, there's Walls set up on the left side, backs off the line of scrimmage. 3rd down and 3. He comes in motion now and sets up on the right. Collins looks left, goes right to Scott Green, who had it and dropped it and would have had a first down. He would have had a first down, Dan, and they like Scott Green as a receiver. They think he's got excellent hands. He had a lot of receptions in his college career at Michigan State, and they're throwing to him here. I don't think he was the primary receiver, but the downfield receivers were covered, so Collins went to him in the flat, and he just flat dropped the ball. Another punting situation for Ken Walter. End over end, not a great punt. Tamarick Vanover tends to let it go, and it takes a great Carolina bounce. It'll be inside the 5 and down at the 3-yard line. So this time, Kansas City has 97 yards ahead of it. Welcome back, and an opportunity for this Carolina defense. And Sam Mills in his 12th year, the only player to start every Panthers game, the oldest starting linebacker in the NFL at age 38. back there with his defensive unit as Kansas City is backed up on its own 3-yard line. They give us to Marcus Allen and nowhere to go.
You know, Dan, interesting story about Sam Mills when he initially signed with the Philadelphia Stars in the USFL back in 1983. He'd already been cut by the Cleveland Browns. He'd been cut by a team in Canada. But when he was in Cleveland, Sam Rutigliano, who was the head coach there, really liked him. And I'll get back to it here when this play's over.
Second down and 9 as Hill gets the carry. It'll bring up third down. In fact, Sam Mills, we talked about, it was a great story. Sam Mills was actually signed in the back of a van.
Joe Pendry was the offensive coordinator. He's the offensive coordinator now for Carolina. Offensive coordinator of the Philadelphia Stars. It was his van. Carl Peterson was there. They signed him. He got a $250 signing bonus, 2-year contract for $20,000 and $22,000 each. But the coach that cut him from the Cleveland Browns was the defensive coordinator, Marty Schottenheimer.
Third down as the fans here at Ericsson Stadium get vocal over the head of Andre Rison. Fourth down, and Kansas City will punt. Carolina with a chance for excellent field position. Terrell on the coverage of Rison.
Getting back to Sam Mills, Sam Rutigliano called Carl Peterson when the USFL started. He said, "Hey, Carl, I got a football player I want to recommend to you. I think I made a mistake when we cut him. We cut him because we thought he was too short, 5'9 plus, but the guy can play." And he said, here's what he told Carl. He says, "Don't cut him till you see him hit somebody. Don't cut him till you see him hit somebody."
That's what he's had to do his whole NFL career, is prove himself. Aguiar backed up in the end zone. This time hangs a nice one. And Poole from the 45 shakes a couple of Kansas City tacklers. Still on his feet. Just does get into Carolina or Kansas City territory at the 49. 49-yard punt, 5-yard return. Welcome back to Charlotte. Gives us a chance to remind you of probably the most anticipated golf event in history, the Ryder Cup, next Saturday, noon Eastern time, 11 Pacific. Tiger Woods leads the Americans in this biennial match, played over at the Valderrama Golf Club in Spain. And then on Sunday, you can join us at 8 o'clock Eastern time, and there is a time change. Folks on the West Coast, 5 a.m. Pacific time. Get up early and watch the final singles day on Sunday. Live coverage on that final day. It's all next weekend on NBC. Seve Ballesteros is the European Ryder Cup captain on his home turf in Spain. It should be energized, to say the least.
And you get to go over there and watch it and work it.
Looking forward to that.
Lucky man.
No doubt about it.
Leaving tomorrow, right?
Leaving tomorrow. Kerry Collins now at the Kansas City 49. Fakes the pitch to Fred Lane. Rolls right, looking for somebody. Gets a decent block from his tight end Wesley Walls, who was tied up, and Collins out of bounds at the 46. Terry Wooden, the former Seahawk, chased him out. Number 90.
Carolina's got to come out, and they got to get something going here. They got the ball in good field position on the Kansas City side of the 50-yard line. Last week against San Diego, they had 12 possessions, Carolina did. 6 of them on the plus side of the 50. Got 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. They got to get something here.
Collins to the air again, far side. He's got the rookie Ray Caruth, who makes a nice move, shakes loose, and gets down to the 33-yard line. Caruth continuing to have an impact today.
There's no question that they're working Caruth here. They're trying to get some big plays out of him. You know, he was a running back in high school and a very good running back right there. They feel that he can do something special when he's got the football in his hand. They throw him a little short route like that and let him run with it.
Already 78 yards for Caruth, who broke Michael Westbrook's touchdown record at Colorado with 22 touchdowns. He does have a tendency to get loose for big gains and scores. Play action for Collins on first down. Can't find anybody to the left. Now he's in trouble and scoots his way back up close to the line of scrimmage.
Okay, Collins was initially looking for Ernie Mills on the right side of your screen, but he was covered very well by number 40, James Hasty, so Collins has got to scramble. Now, he's a big guy, but like Gerbach, both these guys at 6'5", 235 pounds, they can move and they can run.
Yeah, they're really not fast, but both of the coaches say they're mobile enough to get it done.
Right, and normally you don't expect that about a 6'5", 235-pound quarterback, but these guys are good athletes.
Second down and 10 as Collins does get back to the line of scrimmage. Here come the Chiefs. There's the screen to Anthony Johnson. Has good blocking in front of him. Finally dragged down at the 8-yard line, and there's a case where Carolina took advantage of that Chief blitz.
Kansas City defense had a blitz going that time, very much like the screen that Kansas City ran earlier. There was nobody out in the flat covering the back. He hits Anthony Johnson right there. 52, Elliott leading the play. Good gain. Well, they had everybody. Look at all those red shirts coming after Collins. Everybody coming.
So Anthony Johnson takes a breather. And it is first and goal from the 8-yard line after that nice 26-yard gain by Anthony Johnson. Collins steps to the sidelines to talk things over. And we'll remind you that coming up next on most of these NBC stations, it's Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. John Elway and the Broncos battle the Bengals, or the Colts take on the Buffalo Bills. You can check your local listings for the game in your area. It was Kansas City surviving the Buffalo Bills last week, winning 22-16. Carolina, meanwhile, looked a little better, winning at San Diego 26-7. Gary Collins in the offense, well, they weren't great last week. They took advantage, as you mentioned, of the great field position that the Panther defense set up for them.
You know, last year, Carolina led the National Football League in what they call drive start average, where they started all their drives. Like the 31-yard line, it was the best in the league.
And you can go to NFC Championship games when you put up stats like that. Again, first and goal. 4 minutes left in the opening half. Sweep to Fred Lane. He's going to get in. Finally, 70,000 plus cheer on the Panthers' first score and the very first NFL touchdown for Fred Lane, the free agent rookie out of Lane College in Tennessee. It's a big day for him, big year for him, and a big score.
Right there, Ray Caruth, the wide receiver, comes in and does a real good job on Pelham McDaniels to get this thing started. Lane does a nice job there. He has patience with the run, gets into the end zone. That's the first rushing touchdown for the Carolina Panthers this year. Here's Caruth, right there, coming in, making the block on McDaniels. That gets that whole play started. We're going to take another look at it here. There's Caruth coming in motion right there. Gets the block on McDaniels. Nobody else out there. McDaniels had the contain right there. He's supposed to force that play into the inside, and Caruth took him out with a good block.
How impressive that been Caruth, the rookie out of Colorado at his first NFL start. Fred Lane, the free agent rookie out of Lane College. They set up that touchdown.
What you got there, you got a #1 draft pick making the block for a free agent running back scoring the touchdown. You'd think it'd be the other way around.
14-7 now, Kansas City. As Lane takes his spot now on special teams.
He's a good special teams player. He's one of their best special teams players.
And right next to him, Ray Caruth.
#1 draft pick. You don't see him covering. You don't see #1 draft picks covering kickoffs very often.
Well, Tamarick Vanover will get another shot here. But that one drilled into the end zone by John Casey, and Vanover will not get an opportunity to bring it out.
Carolina needed to take advantage of that field position, and much like they did last week when they got good field position, they took advantage of it. The key thing there, Dan, to me, was the fact that they didn't have to end up kicking a field goal. They got in the end zone with touchdown. This is something they haven't been very good at this year so far, or even last year. They needed to score a touchdown.
I couldn't help but notice that New Orleans score that came across. The Saints out in front 21-0 over the Detroit Lions. Of course, Mike Ditka, the coach there, and your old spot, Jim.
Yeah, I'm glad to see Mike, get something going there. They haven't been doing very well, and they needed a little confidence building there, where that 21 points is going to help.
Ted Popson hauls in the Elvis Gerbach pass. Well, you've got, what, 3-4 games under your belt now in broadcasting? Do you miss it?
No, I don't miss coaching. I really don't. I especially when I read about Mike Ditka going 0-3 and 19 turnovers and things like that, and what he's going through. That's what I don't miss.
Kind of glad you have the headset on. A different kind of headset. That's right. Well, Popson's gain is good for 7. And the inside handoff to Kimball Anders. A little misdirection play there by Kansas City as Anders gets the carry.
This is a little misdirection counter play right there. You see number 38, Anders. He took a step to the right, and then he came back inside. Get a good block by the left side of the offensive line. Kansas City is normally a straight-ahead I-type team. That's a little bit different running play for them.
First down. Ball at the 31-yard line of Kansas City, approaching the 2-minute warning of the first half. Gerbach to the air again. Tries to thread it into Brett Perriman, incomplete. Cota there on the coverage. And also, Andre Royal tried to get a hand up in Gerbach's vision as well.
Here's Perryman right there. He's going to run a crossing route coming across the middle. Chad Cota, the strong safety, number 37, picks him up on the crossing route, makes a nice play on the ball to knock the ball down.
Very impressive, Chad Cota. He talked with the defensive coordinator of Carolina, Vic Fangio. They asked him to pick out a player who's been impressive, and he pointed at number 37, Elvis Gerbach, to pass on second down, and that is incomplete. That was intended for Rison. Eric Davis on the coverage of Rison.
They tried to, here's Andre Rison right there. They just tried to hit him on a little hook route right there on Eric Davis. Made a very good reaction, broke up on the ball, and got it out of there.
Well, Elvis Gerbach, 6 of 14, a couple of touchdown passes for 128 yards. Faced with a third down and 10 here. The Chiefs not very good so far today, just 1 of 5 on third down conversions, and they hear it from the Panther fans. Quick slant, threw it behind Rison, and he never had a chance to get it. He was open, and open for perhaps a pretty good game.
Was going to try to go to his left right here, but take a look at number 30, Mike Minner, the defensive back, blitzing from the right side. He was right in Gerbach's face when Gerbach tried to throw the ball and didn't get a good throw.
So Aguiar back to punt again. Tyrone Poole back at the 28. Poole from the 21. Brought down quickly at the 24-yard line. A 48-yard punt by Aguiar, and some extracurricular activity again on the field. And another flag has been thrown in late. Aside from that skirmish, another group of players got together at about the 30-yard line. And there is a Chief down injured on top of all that on the other side of the field.
Kansas City's got an injured player, number 23, Clyde Johnson's down on about the 37-yard line.
Look at Marty Schottenheimer in the face of number 44, Darren Anderson. Look at that.
He's getting after him, isn't he? And he's very upset because Darren Anderson did something from an unsportsmanlike conduct, taunting something.
Number 44 of the kicking team on the return, 15 yards, first down.
Unnecessary roughness on Darren Anderson.
Now, Marty Schottenheimer's a big believer in poise and discipline and not beating yourself with stupid penalties, and that was the case right there where unnecessary roughness, that's a stupid type penalty. There's no reason to have something like that happen, and Marty Schottenheimer let him know that very, very definitely.
Well, it was interesting what Marty Schottenheimer told us. He said some of the players on last year's team would not listen to him, so he did make some changes, and frankly, he likes the way the younger players are responding to him this year. Carolina much better field position after the penalty. Scott Green with a first down for the Panthers. All the way down to the Kansas City 44, and that should bring us to the 2-minute warning. 18 yards from Collins to Green. Carolina wants to put perhaps some more points on the board before the half. Kansas City with a lead 14-7. Panthers on the move at the 2-minute warning. And as you take a look at that state-of-the-art stadium, Ericsson Stadium in downtown Charlotte, a man who had a huge part to do with that, Mike McCormick, 66 years old, and they unveiled a 7-foot statue of Mike McCormick, who is the first member as the Panthers Hall of Fame. He was a Hall of Fame player, offensive lineman for the Browns, assistant coach, head coach in the NFL, and really the architect of this franchise. When Jerry Richardson, the owner, wanted to get a stadium built downtown, he needed a lot of advice, and he looked to Mike McCormick. And McCormick, although his involvement in this franchise is not a long time, certainly deserving of that honor.
You know, Mike McCormick, Dan, started to work for the Carolina Panthers a number of years before they became an expansion team. He was very instrumental in helping them get an expansion team, and once they did get that, he was the one that helped the Richardsons in, hey, this is how we do things, you know, this is the kind of stadium, locker room, things we got to do to be a quality football team.
Great to see all his grandchildren there, too. They call him Panther Man.
Right.
Mike McCormick was on it. Kerry Collins tries to swing out the screen pass to Anthony Johnson. That is incomplete. That has proved to be a pretty good play for Carolina today, but not that time.
Well, they had a good play earlier, and of course Kansas City scored on a screen play to Kimball Anders earlier on. You know, Kerry Collins couldn't believe that Johnson dropped the pass. The screen is a good play against a blitzing type defense. It slows down that rush.
Minute 56 left. Collins nothing to the left, rolls to his right. Pressured, gets rid of it, and it falls incomplete. Stops the clock with a minute 48 left, and that'll bring up 3rd down and 10. Chiefs with 3 timeouts left, Panthers with 2.
Collins was trying to hit number 89, Mills, on a little slant route right there earlier in the down, and then he had to scramble out, and he hit Mills as Mills continued to come across the field, but of course the pass was incomplete.
And again, I hate to keep mentioning it, but Wesley Wall still without a reception here. We're almost through the first half of this game. Not even looking at it. Really, Kansas City defense again doing a good job on Collins' favorite target, the tight end. Collins in trouble again, and down he will go by number 44, Darren Anderson, who just got chewed out by Marty Schottenheimer.
Yeah, right. You know, one of the reasons that Wesley Wall says one of the reasons he hasn't been a factor, there he is right there, because they're having to keep him into blocks. See, he's supposed to pick up number 44, Darren Anderson, a blitzing defensive back. He's still looking for him there. Gets a hit on him, but it's too late because Anderson gets the sack.
Second sack of the day on Kerry Collins. And a look at the number 1 draft pick in his 3rd year. Sacked just 5 times in his last 8 starts, but already sacked twice here in the first half. Coming up, Domino's Pizza, NFL and NBC Halftime Report. Greg Gumbel, Joe Gibbs, Chris Collinsworth, Sam Weish, all on hand in the New York studio. Scores and highlights from today's early games. Plus, Bob Costas will take a look at Patriots head coach Bill Parcells. It's all coming up on the Halftime Report. To Mark Vanover back at the 15-yard line for Kansas City to receive the punt from Ken Walter. And Vanover makes the catch at the 12-yard line. A flag is down at midfield.
Might have a hold on Kansas City. They were doing a pretty good job of holding up the forcer, number 82, Bates. The official might have got him. Marty's not real happy with all these penalties. Both he and Dom Capers, they preach don't beat ourselves with penalties.
15-yard face mask on the receiving team. Half the distance to the goal. First down.
And that backs them up even further. They have 2 timeouts left.
As I said, Dan, as I was saying, Marty Schottenheimer and Dom Capers are very similar in their coaching philosophy. They're relatively conservative, win with defense, win with the kicking game. Don't beat yourself. Those kind of penalties are critical because they're unnecessary penalties.
Mounting up for both teams. Schottenheimer still hot on the sidelines.
A little upset.
Kansas City with a 14-7 lead over Carolina. Panthers with a 9-1 record here at home at Ericsson Stadium. Trying to fight back from a 14-0 deficit. And that is Kimball Anders who gets the call on the right side up to the 12-yard line. But you think with both coaches pretty conservative, especially with Kansas City on offense here, they're just going to, well, now they're hurried up offense.
They're going to try to get out of there and get something going here. They've got about a minute, a little over a minute.
Gerbach works the right side, enters again, stops the clock with 1:08 left. Again, 2 timeouts still left for Kansas City, so maybe they do have an opportunity to get the first down there.
It looked like it there with the no huddle offense that they're going to try to get down there and get some points before halftime.
Paul Hackett, the offensive coordinator, very worried about this Carolina Panther team. In fact, he says, this is a game I could get excited about. With all the different defensive formations that Carolina throws at you. And that one off the mark to Andre Rison. In fact, it was Marty Schottenheimer who described the Carolina defense, Jim, as what, spaghetti on a plate?
That was a great quote, I thought. He said it's like spaghetti on a plate. You never know where all the noodles are going to be, They got guys blitzing from all over the place. Right, left, up the middle, defensive backs, linebackers. I thought that was a great quote by Marty Schottenheimer.
This is the first ever regular season meeting between these teams. Kansas City beat Carolina 30-10 in the preseason. But Kansas City has not seen a lot of this style of blitz. Second down, and Gerbach goes down. And Les Miller, number 69.
Another former Saint. There's Les Miller right there from the left side, coming in from the left tackle. Now Carolina's just in a 4-man rush. They had a little tackle-in cross game right there. The end came inside. Les Miller hits right there. Now he comes outside. That game there kind of messed up the Kansas City blocking, and he got the sack.
Les Miller made 5 starts for Carolina last year. This is his 3rd team. You mentioned he is a former Saint. Played for you, 91-94.
They call him Big Country. That's his nickname. About 300 pounds. He's got this long red hair. You can see it sticking out of sticking out of his helmet right there. And he's from Oklahoma. Good guy, but he is country. Look at that hair right there. See that hair right there?
11th year man out of Fort Hays State.
Came into the league as a college free agent. Was not drafted.
3rd down and 20. Just under a minute left, 59 seconds for Kansas City. We'll see how bold they get here. Gerbach dumps it over. And brought down just across the 20-yard line is Kimball Anders. Does not even get back to the original line of scrimmage. That'll bring up 4th down. Kansas City will punt, and an injured Panther is now down on the field. And that is not good news. Michael Barrow. In obvious pain. And now on his feet.
Michael Barrow, Dan, you know, his younger brother Keith is 15 years old, and the parents are not involved in the family, and the younger brother lives with Michael Barrow right here in Charlotte. Michael Barrow is his parent. He takes care of him, and as Michael Barrow, somebody said, well, you know, who does the cooking and things like that for you and your brother? Michael Barrow said, well, there's a lot of peanut butter and jelly sandwiches eaten in this family. But
Keith Gaines, 15 years old, and his only role model is now Michael Barrow.
And it's a good role model to have.
So the Chiefs will punt it away and give the Panthers maybe some reasonable time. Carolina has one timeout left. Aguiar just gets it away as Michael Bates came knifing in there. Tyrone Poole calls for the fair catch at the 37th. Stops the clock with 41 seconds left. 42-yard punt by Aguiar. So Kerry Collins will go to work. And if you talk to some of the players when they got Collins back last week for the first time, they mentioned the leadership. They said, boy, when Kerry Collins got back in the huddle, there was a huge difference. There's a swagger to this guy, and immediately they know who's in charge.
And when you talk to him, when you watch him in practice, I mean, you can see it there. I mean, he believes that he can get the job done. He's got a tremendous amount of confidence, and like you say, you know, he exudes confidence in his teammates.
We were talking going back, and we asked him if he'd ever been on a losing team. We were trying to find out where he got this confidence. He says, you know, come to think of it, I never have.
Never had. That goes way back to Little League. Pop Warner, the whole thing.
And then you mentioned the first season they went 7-9, and then he quickly said, well, wait, as a starter, I was 7-6.
That's right. He had an excuse. He got a way out of it.
So as far as Kerry's concerned, he has not been on a losing team ever, dating back to, and that goes for any sport.
Right.
Basketball, baseball, in addition to his football.
And even the fact that first year with Carolina, an expansion team, he's the starting quarterback. They're 7-9. I mean, that really isn't much of a blot on his record. I mean, this guy's he's a winner. He's a winner.
Regular season record for Collins, 17-9. And he went to the Pro Bowl as an alternate due to the injuries of Troy Aikman and Steve Young. Very impressive third-year man. Anthony Johnson just across the 45-yard line. Clock still running with 25 seconds left, and the Panthers just might take their final time out of the half. They do. Stopping the clock with 24 seconds left. And coming up next on most of these NBC stations, Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. John Elway and the Broncos again battle the Cincinnati Bengals, or the Colts take on the Bills. Check your local listings for the game in your area. I think it was Kansas City that started off impressively 4-0 last year after the disappointing loss in the playoffs previous, and we talked about how Denver has got off to a pretty good start this year, despite the disappointing first-round loss last year. What do you think of the Denver Broncos this year?
Well, I think the Denver Broncos. I think the Denver Broncos are a better football team than Kansas City was last year. I think they got better players, and they're just a better football team. And I think they're going to continue to be successful. Whereas last year, Kansas City, after that 4-0 start, really struggled. They lost a few in a row, then they come back and won a couple, and they never could put a good winning streak together, and eventually ended up 9-7 and missed the playoffs for the first time in the 90s.
6 straight playoff years in a row for Marty Schottenheimer came to an abrupt end last year. So now Carolina with a 3rd down and 2, ball squarely at the 45-yard line. Now out of timeouts, 24 seconds left. Collins with a quick drop, and far sideline finds Ernie Mills, the former Pittsburgh Steeler. And he's out of bounds quickly, just used up 4 seconds.
All he's trying to do here is get the quick out to number 89, Ernie Mills, get him out of bounds, stop the clock. Mark McMillans was covering. He kind of went for the pass to knock it down, and Collins made a nice throw to get it past him. All they're trying to do here is get in position for Casey to kick a field goal. That's what they want. And he can make a long one.
He can boom him despite missing a 54-yarder earlier in this game. Collins just slips down, gets back up, fires across the field, and it's complete at the 36-yard line. Clock continues to run, though, as Ismail did not get out of bounds. Collins just wants to get up there and spike the ball, and then set Casey up for a field goal. Just in time with 1 second left. Woo! And here comes Casey.
Going to be about a 52-yarder. He can make this. this is definitely within his range.
Well, we mentioned that he's 8 of 10 on the year. The only miss prior to the 54-yarder that he had coming into this game was a 55-yard attempt which hit the upright against Atlanta earlier this season.
It's about a 54-yarder right here for him.
And Marty Schottenheimer calls a timeout. The Chiefs' last of the half, and Casey will have to wait a moment before he attempts the 54-yarder. Well, it's a much anticipated matchup on Carolina's upcoming schedule, and adding even more attention to it, it's on Monday night. The 49ers come to town, and we understand that former Panther Kevin Green, who left to join the San Francisco 49ers, will recover from a toe injury and be in action and return to Ericsson Stadium.
That's going to be quite a night, because you got Kevin Green coming back to his team that he had such a great year with last year. Plus, it'll be the first Monday night game, home Monday night game in Carolina history. So you know this stadium's going to be rocking next Monday night, and there's not going to be a lot of these people rooting for Kevin Green.
I don't think so. Well, here's Casey, who set an NFL record with 37 field goals last year. His 145 points led the NFL, third most points by a kicker in NFL history. This from 54 yards.
You don't have any. You don't have any.
Casey swings into it nicely, but it is headed right again. So Casey, for the second time, off the mark from 54 yards. And that brings us to halftime as Kansas City, paced by a couple of touchdown passes by Elvis Gerbach, has the 14-7 lead over Carolina at halftime. Now we go to the halftime report in our New York studio. Scores and highlights coming up with Greg Gumbel and company.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now.
And we welcome to our studio here in New York. I'm Greg Gumbel, along with Chris Collinsworth, Sam Weish, and Joe Gibbs. And let's run down scores and highlights for you as we have them up to the moment. We'll begin with the game at the Meadowlands, where the Oakland Raiders are leading the New York Jets at halftime 22-10. Oakland fans turning out in force at the Meadowlands. Raiders are 5-1 all time there. Oh, nice uniform. Jeff George, great throw into the wind. James Jett on the run, 56 yards and a touchdown. George's 7th TD pass of the season. Oakland missed the point after, but led 6-0. 6-3 Oakland second quarter. Jeff George strikes again. Tim Brown on the receiving end of a 29-yard touchdown pass. The Raiders failed on the 2-point conversion and led 12-3. The Jets responded. 5 plays, 57 yards. Adrian Morrell goes 4 yards for the last of it. First touchdown by a Jets running back this year, 12-10. But then George to James Jett, 11 yards. The cornerback Otis Smith beaten for a touchdown for the third time in the game. Oakland led 19-10. Ford added a field goal, 22-10 Raiders. Chris?
Yeah, and the story of this game is that the Jets are having to blitz to try and get some pressure on Jeff George. Unfortunately, they don't have the corner in Otis Smith to play that man coverage behind him. Aaron Glenn's a very good corner. Otis Smith beaten on all 3 touchdown passes, and so far Jeff George looks spectacular.
Joe, remember back in the pregame we were wondering whether or not we really had a finger on the kind of team that this Oakland Raider club is this year.
Well, I think they've made up their mind that they're going to go for more balance on offense, and we've all talked about them. They have the ability to run the football. Napoleon Kaufman here has over 100 yards in the first half, and everything, we talk about balance on the show and everything comes off the run. Now Jeff George sitting back there, everybody's looking for Napoleon Kaufman. He hits a couple of big plays downfield and everything kind of ties together. The other surprising thing, they've only got 2 penalties here, so it looks like they're making a step up. And I don't know if that's because of the Jets or because of improved play on their part, but I'd have to say it's improved on their part.
Jeff George benefits from the balanced offense. He's 15 of 19, 192 yards and 3 touchdowns. In Foxborough, the New England Patriots with a 2-touchdown lead on the winless Chicago Bears. Drew Bledsoe, 2 touchdown passes in that game to 2 different receivers, of course. In the game that you are watching, the Kansas City Chiefs are leading Carolina by a score of 14-7 at halftime. This surprising you, Sam?
Well, good news, bad news. Bad news, Wesley Walls, the leading receiver, no receptions. John Casey can't hit him from 54 yards, 0 for 2 today. Good news is Ray Caruso having a big first half, and Mike McCormick, one of my favorite people in the game, first person inducted in the Carolina Hall of Fame.
All right, Sam, and Elvis Gerbach, 2 touchdown passes, for the Kansas City Chiefs. In Green Bay, the Vikings blew an early chance to take control of this game. The Packers have come roaring back. They lead it 31-7 at halftime. Brett Favre has thrown 4 touchdown passes. He has become the all-time leader in career touchdown passes in Green Bay with 155 of them. 31-7. Packers are in the lead. Baltimore at Tennessee. This game taking place at the Liberty Bowl. The Ravens lead it by 10. 20-10 at the break is the score. They lost defensive tackle. Baltimore did. Tony Siragusa to a sprained left ankle after he was tackled on a fumble recovery. 3-0 Baltimore in the first. Steve McNair to tight end Frank Wycheck. 36 yards and a touchdown. 7-3 Oilers. That was the score in the second quarter after a Jamie Sharper interception of McNair. Vinny Testaverde hits Derek Alexander on a 25-yard touchdown pass. 10-7 Baltimore. And then Testaverde avoids the rush, hits Alexander with a 5-yard toss. The Ravens took a 17-7 lead, added a field goal, and they lead it at halftime by a score of 20-10. And the winless New Orleans Saints in the Superdome, 21-7. They lead the Detroit Lions, and Mario Bates has carried 11 times for 114 yards and a touchdown. They've gotten 3 turnovers, which have led to 2 Saints touchdowns. How's Barry Sanders doing? Sanders, so far today, 12 carries, 72 yards. Not the biggest headache in the world for Mike Ditka yet, but there's still another half to play. When we come back, Bob Costas joins us with some thoughts on the art of coaching. First, we'll step aside for these words from your local station.
This is the Domino's Pizza NFL on NBC Halftime Report, brought to you by Domino's Pizza. For hot and wow, call Domino's. Now,
Greg Gumbel back in our New York studio. We all know that head coaches can have a big impact, not just in football, but in all sports. Bob Costas has some thoughts, and he brought them to us a little earlier in the day.
Greg, if ever a 1-2 team could be said to be on the upswing, it's the New York Jets. After crushing Seattle in the opener, they came this close against Buffalo and were just a block kick away from beating the Patriots on the defending conference champions' home field. It's not much of a reach to say that the Jets could be 3-0, seeing as they were 1-15 a year ago and last saw the playoffs in 1991. This would appear to be another pretty good indication that Bill Parcells can coach. His Jets are already very competitive. Few doubt that they will soon enough be more than that. And who can doubt that Parcells now carries an image and presence that goes beyond mere coaching excellence and gives him a star power that few players, let alone coaches, approach. I'm sure even Keyshawn Johnson understands that no Jet is remotely as valuable or interesting as his coach. Run all the managers and coaches in the 4 major professional sports through your mind. There's some real quality there, but only a very few have been given anything like the power Parcells wields in New York. And even fewer of those carry the almost universal perception that no matter what they inherit, a championship contender will almost certainly emerge. One who does is Pat Riley, and beneath the surface differences, the smooth Riles and the gruff Tuna have much in common. We're not saying here that they are the best coaches in their sports, although they may be. Still, it's not clear that Riley is a better coach than Phil Jackson or Chuck Daly or whomever else you'd place among the elite, or that in a given game or season, Parcells can outcoach Mike Holmgren, Tony Dungy, or the rest of the short list of the NFL's best. But what is clear is that Parcells and Riley have track records that point to a guaranteed ability to change the tone and performance of an entire organization. The prevailing opinion, then, is that acquiring a Parcells or a Riley to run your team will do it more good than acquiring almost any single great player. Like Riley, Parcells is far from universally popular. Like Riley, he's worn out his welcome elsewhere and departed under messy and disputed circumstances. Like Riley, he's a control freak who will seek to leave even a successful situation if he feels that control is threatened. And given their reputations for getting results, there's always an owner somewhere, not just willing, but eager to give them the total power and control they seek. And they have the sheer gall to seize it. Like Riley, Jimmy Johnson, and a few others, Parcells brings an edge, an attitude, a power of personality that fascinates and intimidates. With this comes the self-confidence and security to run an old-style my way or the highway operation and make it stick with no apologies or explanations required. The flip side is that in this game of raised expectations, no explanations are accepted either. So even if the Jets improve, even if they get to the playoffs in a year or two, all that will be viewed as a mere prelude to the real payoff, the Super Bowl that Parcells is eventually expected to win. Never mind that there are too many variables involved to reasonably demand that of any coach. That's the way it's been set up. Parcells is that good. The fans know it. The press knows it. He's a coaching gunslinger. And like any gunslinger, these are the words he hears before he puts his reputation on the line again. Prove it. Our NFL on NBC halftime activities will continue.
First ever regular season meeting between the AFC's Kansas City Chiefs and the NFC's Carolina Panthers. The Kansas City Chiefs out in front 14-7. Pretty much the battle we expected. We did expect it to be relatively low scoring. There has not been a lot of sustained drives on offense by either team.
That's right, and with the kind of defense that both these teams play, Dan, you're not going to see long drives. You're not going to see a lot of offense. But what we did see today were some big plays, which is a little bit unusual. But when teams blitz like both these teams do, sometimes you're going to hit some big plays on them.
Elvis Gerbach with a couple of touchdown tosses. One to Anders and one to Rison. And the lone touchdown for Carolina came on a Fred Lane touchdown, which was set up by a nice screen play to Anthony Johnson. There is Michael Bates, who is just as dangerous as Tamarick Vanover is for the Chiefs. Stojanovich's kick taken by Bates at the 2. And the man that led the NFL in kickoff returns last year, pretty good one. Across the 25 to about the 26, and we now have a chance to take a look at the Coors Light halftime stats. And there's just the one turnover in the ball game, the interception, picked off by James Hasty, thrown by Gary Collins of Carolina.
Yeah, nothing very remarkable in the stats. Pretty even, except for the time of possession. Carolina's got 18 minutes compared to about 12 for Kansas City, but Carolina really hasn't capitalized on that, only getting in the end zone one time.
And you talked about field position in the first half, Jim. Kansas City's average field position was its own 18. Carolina's its own 31.
Yeah, that's good, except you got to take advantage of that, and Carolina hasn't.
Right to the air goes Collins, and he's got Scott Green. And Green in open field for a first down. And a big fullback all the way into Kansas City territory on the very first play of this second half. Terry Wooden finally brought him down.
Here's Scott Green right there, and he's going to run out into the flat, and what he does, he beats Terry Wooden. That's all it is. Terry Wooden's got man coverage on Scott Green, and Scott Green just beats him. It looked to me like Terry Wooden was looking into the backfield. Good block there by number 89, Ernie Mills, on the defensive back.
6 catch, 53 yards now for Green as they keep it on the ground. And that's Anthony Johnson bouncing out to the right side, close to a first down. Anthony Johnson continuing to be the featured back today, but absent from the running attack for Carolina has been Tamanga Biaka-Patuka.
Well, it's going to be important that Carolina run the ball right here. And again, you're going to get a good block on the right side of your screen by Ernie Mills, which gets Anthony Johnson to the outside.
Well, we mentioned, Jim Biaka-Patuka. We have not seen him. There is the #1 draft pick a year ago for Carolina. Tore his left ACL in the 4th game of last year. Made his first action of the season in last week's game. 12 carries, 54 yards, but obviously he has not been playing less than 100%.
Right, he's still recovering from that injury that he suffered last year. That's a serious knee injury. Normally it'll take a long time for a player to get back to 100%, and that's the case with him.
Carolina on the move right here in the outset of the second half. Collins with a play fake on first down and simply throwing it away.
Try to save it. Here was one time where he was looking for Wesley Walls, but Reggie Tongue, number 25, was covering Wesley Walls man for man. There's Tongue right there. He is covering him man for man, and he had good coverage.
Well, they think very highly of Tongue, the safety, and Jerome Woods, the other safety. A couple of second-year men have moved into the starting lineup in Kansas City's defensive backfield. Gets maybe a yard or two, and that is all before the Chiefs close in on him, and that'll bring up 3rd down.
one of the objectives of the Kansas City defense coming into this game today was to put the clamps on Wesley Walls, and they have certainly done that. You know, you can say, well, Collins isn't looking at Walls, and I think, and obviously one of the reasons is that Kansas City is doing a good job defending him.
One of Marty Schottenheimer's comments to us that their goal on defense was to not have the Carolina backs and players fall forward, is to just make contact and hit these guys back. That's what they concentrated on a lot in practice this week. Collins on the passing situation over the hands of Raghib Ismail, and that'll bring up 4th down. And so as quickly as that drive by Carolina got off to an impressive start, it dies just as suddenly.
Right, it sure did. And Kansas City did a good job right here. And they didn't want Carolina to come out and start the second half by going down and getting some points.
Well, they have a chance here. This will be a 56-yard attempt by John Casey. 0-2 today from 54 and 53.
Practice on Friday, Carolina, they did run a fake field goal in practice, threw a pass to Casey.
And there it is. That is the holder, Ken Walter, the punter, and down he goes. You called that, Jim.
Well, I saw him doing a practice on Friday, and they snapped the ball to Walter, the holder, and Casey was supposed to release on a pass route. They throw him the pass. He never got out that time.
There's another look.
Here it is.
So the fake field goal does not work for Carolina, and Kansas City takes over.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Oldsmobile and your local Oldsmobile retailers. By Snickers, not going anywhere for a while? Grab a Snickers. Hungry? Why wait? By Coca-Cola Classic, always the real thing, always Coca-Cola. And by the U.S. Army, be a part of the toughest, smartest army in the world. Be all you can be.
Welcome back to Charlotte. Carolina trailing 14-7. A botched fake field goal by Carolina a moment ago as Kansas City begins with good field position. Greg Hill gets the first down carry. And another look. Let's take a look at the snap, first of all, on the previous play.
The snap's pretty good, Dan, but the holder, Ken Walter, fumbles the snap right there, and he gets a little shook up. And it looked to me like they were going to run a fake there, because if you see both wing backs that are lined up there, there's a wing back there and a wing back there, they release out like they're going to release on a pattern. So I think it was a fake.
And now some concern on the Carolina sideline as they attend to Lamar Lathan. Again, back for the first time after arthroscopic knee surgery. Missed just the second game in his 3 years with the Panthers last week. And obviously favoring the left leg.
This would not be good if he did re-injure that knee.
Well, we'll wait for an official report from the Carolina sidelines and take another look at Lathan.
Oh, yeah, he gets his left ankle there under the pile and gets it twisted. It wasn't the knee, it was the left ankle. Pretty good turn, though, of the left ankle.
Kansas City now with 2nd down and 7. Gerbach fakes left, goes right to the tight end, Ted Popson, and right there is Andre Royal. As they continue to talk to Lamar Lathan on the sidelines.
You know, coming back from arthroscopic knee surgery after just missing one game is pretty good. And normally a guy will miss at least 2. And when I heard he was coming back just after one game, I said, hey, that's pretty good. He's a tough guy. But it wasn't the knee, it was the left ankle.
3rd down now and 8. And Carolina, or Kansas City, just 1 of 7 on 3rd down conversions today. That is not good at all. They set up the screen left side to Anders, and he shakes a tackle and has some room, picks up the first down. And inside the 40 all the way down to the 36-yard line before Chad Cota brings him down. And that is another big gain for Anders, 19 yards on that screen.
Yeah, another screenplay. And the player who does a good job here is number 61, Tim Grunhart, the center. He's right there, gets out there and makes a block on Andre Royal, number 58, that gets Anders going initially.
4 catches, 94 yards for Anders. And there's a look at Anders streaking up the middle for the big gain. And to the air again, they go left side on the short stuff. And Ted Popson again hauls it in. And Andre Royal again brings him down. Defensive coordinator for the Carolina Panthers is Vic Fangio, leaning ahead there. Another one of your disciples, Jim, and you think he, like Dom Capers, has what it takes to be a head coach?
I believe he's going to be a head coach. He interviewed this past offseason with San Diego, did not get the job. It's only a question of time before he becomes a head coach in the NFL.
He's done a marvelous job with his Carolina defense. And a nice little draw delay up the middle, and close to a first down, but did not get there, was the first carry for Donnell Bennett, number 30. Second round pick out of Miami. Well, we were talking with some of Vic Fangio's defensive players, and who was it? Was it Michael Barrow who nicknamed Vic Fangio Spike Lee?
Spike Lee.
Call him Spike Lee, and the reason being because he's this crazed kind of creative mind who walks loose with the arms dangling down from his sides, and nicknamed him Spike Lee. Well, Spike has done a pretty good job as the defensive coordinator. Third and short, and Kansas City picks up the first down. That was a nice play out to Risen. Gerbach knew exactly what yardage they needed. Risen got it done.
Did a good job. Carolina's got Lamar Lathan back in the game too, Dan, and he was rushing from that right end spot. So he's limping a little bit right now between plays. A little gimpy, but he looked pretty good rushing the quarterback that time.
Oh, when we talked to Michael Barrow coming into this game, he said that Lamar Lathan was no more than 75 to 80%. So he was well under full power coming in. Gerbach over the middle to Popson, incomplete. He had the tight end open. There was some movement along the line of scrimmage, and a flag has been thrown. And it is offsides against Carolina.
He did have Popson open down the middle there, but overthrew him.
Somebody moved for the Panthers.
Offside. Defense, number 56. 5 yards. Repeat first down.
That'll be on Michael Barrow, who his former coach, Jeff Fisher, called the smartest player he's ever coached in the NFL.
There he is right there.
Signed a 5-year, $18 million contract to come over from Houston. Back on the outside. It says he was trying to make the sacks earlier this season. Now he's taken after Mark McGuire of the Oakland A's, and he's just letting them happen like McGuire's got the home runs. Greg Hill with a nice catch.
Said he was very frustrated that he wasn't getting sacks when he read in the paper that Mark McGuire said, I don't try to hit home runs, I just try to get base hits. So he says, well, I just thought I'm going to keep working and the sacks will come.
Had a fumble recovery and a forced fumble last week in the big victory over San Diego.
And 2 sacks.
And a couple of sacks.
Yeah.
You are right. A key component on Carolina's defense, Barrow, and a less than 100% Lamar Lathan on the other side. 1st and 10 after the Greg Hill pickup. Marcus Allen with another good gain for Kansas City, and all of a sudden the Chiefs are moving the football.
Yeah, they sure are. And this is the best drive that they've had all day today. In fact, it's as good a drive as either team has had, and they're mixing up the run and the pass, keeping that Carolina defense off balance.
Marcus Allen takes a break. Greg Hill comes back into the offensive set for Kansas City. And it is 2nd down and 5, ball on the 7. They can pick up a first down. Gerbach again rolling to his right, looking to the end zone, and it is picked off. Tyrone Poole. Big play by the Carolina defense. Thwarts an impressive Kansas City drive. And the Panthers will have the ball when we come back.
When you get down here in this area, you can't force it in there. You've got to make sure the guy's open. You got a chance to get the score. The guy he was looking for right there is number 89, Risen. And he was open initially. Gerbach faked to him, but then he threw it downfield for Derek Walker. Poole made a great break on the ball, a great interception. Walker has not caught a pass yet this season.
Sets up Carolina at the 20 with a 1st and 10, and now it is Collins Mullins who forces it in, and Donnie Edwards, 59, picks it off. Back-to-back interceptions.
Well, you know, we talked about both these teams having the good defenses, and here the defenses are making the big plays the second half. Making the big plays. The chief coaching staff love Donnie Edwards. They feel that he's very intelligent, as you said earlier, Dan, and he's extremely quick. He makes a nice break on the ball right there, gets the interception.
He has 4.45 speed. He won the job from Tracy Simeon, and it was Marty Schottenheimer who said, you know, he's got the kind of respect from his fellow players that it will be his defense one day, perhaps, for Kansas City. Excellent field position by Gerbach. He's got a lot of room in front of him to run, and fakes it.
He had me fooled. I was looking for the back up the middle.
Gets it down to the 7-yard line.
Paul Hackett loves to run the bootleg down in the red zone area where this is, and they get a great fake inside and a totally fooled number 57, Lamar Lathan. He's got to contain on that play. He's got to keep the quarterback from getting outside, and he got completely fooled by the run fake inside to Greg Hill.
And you can tell Lathan, the way he walks in between plays, not 100%. Second down and 3, ball on the 7. On the left side goes Marcus Allen, looking for the goal line. Gets down to the 2-yard line. Look at Allen. He's down, and then he stretches it across. A flag has come in. That'll give you an indication of how badly Marcus Allen wants to get to the goal line.
I'll tell you about Marcus Allen. They're going to announce the penalty here, but Marcus Allen with
personal foul, 15-yard face mask, number 40 of the defense, half a distance to the goal, first down.
I was going to say, Dan, Marcus Allen is the best ever, in my opinion, goal line, and they're down in the goal line now, or short yardage runner in football.
There's the face mask right there on Carolina, and there's Allen reaching for what he hoped would be his 113th rushing touchdown.
Adding to his record.
Steve Wallace has been in the game for Jeff Criswell, who came in with an injured foot. So it has been Wallace, number 74, who has been in there at left tackle for Kansas City, and now Wallace slow in getting up. So Criswell, number 69, is right next to Wallace, you see there. Ready for action again.
Yeah, they're going to run out of linemen, though, here if they don't watch out. That's a critical position for him, that left tackle position, because most of the time you're blocking Lamar Lathan, the most explosive player on that Carolina defense. Nick Fangio says he's 265 pounds and runs like a defensive back. He said he's the best athlete on the team.
So out goes Wallace as you look at Lathan. 5 years with Houston. And now the main man in Carolina's defense, along with Michael Barrow. First and goal now with a penalty tacked on from the 1-yard line. And do you have a feeling Marcus Allen will get the football here, Jim?
I would bet my life on it.
Marcus Allen short.
I think Carolina thought he was going to get it too. They were ready for him. They put the Chiefs put Tony Richardson in there at fullback. He's a better blocker than Kimball Anders. Anders is a good receiver, good runner, but Richardson is their main guy back there as a blocker, and he was the lead blocker on that play, but Carolina had it well defensed. Carolina is a good goal line defensive football team. Sam Mills is as good a linebacker down here as I've ever seen.
So here they try it again. They have a little less distance to go, less than a yard. Again, it's Richardson. Allen gets the call in, and he goes.
Same play as they ran the one before. This one worked.
Rushing touchdown number 113 for the future Hall of Famer Marcus Allen.
On this one, Marcus Allen said he's the best goal line short yardage runner I've ever seen, but right there he had a real good push by the right side of his offensive line. Will Shields, Glenn Parker, Tim Grunhard did a good job pushing that Carolina defensive line back.
What a change of events in the last couple of minutes. It appeared Kansas City would give it up to Carolina after the interception, but they make an interception of their own, drive it right back in, and lead 21-7. After an opening loss to Denver, Kansas City looking for its third straight win. Marcus Allen just plunging in from 1 yard away. And Kansas City now in front 21-7. There's Michael Bates fielding the Stoyanovich kickoff at the 6. And Bates leaping over it to the 27-yard line, and that's where Carolina will start after the 23-yard return by Bates. Panthers need to get it going.
You're watching the NFL on NBC.
Well, a change-up for Carolina on offense, trying to get something going. Timaga Biakabatuka, the number 1 pick a year ago. We mentioned him on the sidelines earlier in the game. He is now in the huddle for Carolina as they try to get something going.
They think he can give them a big play. He's got really good speed and big play type runner, and that's what they need right now.
He's the long setback deep in the backfield, and Biakabatuka will get the carry left side. And gets it up to about the 34-yard line. Jerome Woods, the safety, number 21, came in to make the first hit on Biakabatuka. Again, just his second action of the season.
Coaches told us about him that he doesn't understand the game as well as Anthony Johnson or Fred Lane. That he just needs a better comprehension and understanding of offensive football.
Gain of 6 for Biakabatuka, gets the carry again, and he seems to be cutting fairly well across the 35-yard line. He has only played 6 years of organized football after he switched from soccer. He was born in Zaire. He's really a nice story and was very effective for Carolina last year before the injury in just the 4th game.
Right, they thought he was going to be a special player, and they still do. They think once he fully recovers from that knee injury and gets some experience, that he's going to be the kind of player they thought he would be when they drafted him number 1.
He is the lone setback on 3rd and 2, and the pitch to Biakabatuka. And picks up the first down. I believe that was Pella McDaniels who had a shot at Biakabatuka on the corner, but he picks up the first down.
Carolina is doing a good job here of bringing their wide receivers. This time it's Wesley Walls, number 85, who was flanked out. They bring him in motion down the line of scrimmage, and he gets a crack back block on the right defensive end, Pella McDaniels. But that time Wesley Walls did not do a good job of blocking him, and McDaniels had a shot at the tackle.
Anthony Johnson back in. You saw Biakabatuka take a rest. First down and 10. Carolina trailing at 21-7. Collins to the air, and he has Mark Carrier for the first time this game. Carrier was brought into Carolina's offense when Muhsin Muhammad broke his wrist, and you hear the ovation for Carrier. They know him very well. He led this Panther team in receiving in '95. Also played last year. Very familiar with the Carolina offense, and really only spent 3 days in practice this week.
He showed up Wednesday, but he showed up in good shape, and he knows the offense. That's the key. He can go in the game right now without a lot of training.
Second down and 1. Gain of 9 for Carrier on his first reception. And Biakabatuka picks up the first down, and now Carolina seems to have some options.
Right, they're doing both, and you know, Biakabatuka is making some good gains, some good runs. They get Carrier in the ball game. You know, Carrier is a guy. They went with youth at wide receiver this year, that Caruth, and they brought in Mills, a new player from Pittsburgh, and they kind of phased Carrier out. But Carrier brings confidence to that unit, and the other players look up to him. But the key thing here is he knows the offense. He's an experienced player, leading receiver in the history of the team.
Wesley Walls in motion, still without a reception. Biakabatuka picks up pressure on the left side. A flag is down as Collins lets it go, and it's over the hands of Walls. I believe that's the first time that Collins has even thrown in Walls' direction.
I believe you're right. I also believe we got a holding call here on Carolina, which is going to put a little hitch into this drive. They had a good drive going right here, and now they got a holding penalty that's going to set them back a little bit. Wesley's having a tough day. The Chiefs are accomplishing, one of their primary goals. They're taking him out of the offense. And he's been the main guy. In the passing game, he's been the main guy.
Number 65 of the offense. 10 yards. Repeat first down.
And that's on center Frank Garcia, who Carolina thinks very high of.
Okay, here comes Donnie Edwards on the right side of your screen right there, but they pick him up pretty good. They flush Collins, and he rolls out and sees Walls downfield. He throws a little bit high for Walls to catch.
So now it is first down and 20 for Carolina. Carrier in motion, still in the offensive set for the Panthers. They wanted the screen to be Akabatuka, but it just got bottled up. And that'll bring up second down and 20. Good pressure by Kansas City. Anthony Davis was there.
Good pressure by Kansas City, Dan, and also a real good reaction by number 55, Troy Dumas. He's rushing the passer right there, but he reads screen, reacts out to the receiver, and there's nobody to throw to.
Ball at the 42-yard line. This drive looked so good for a while, seventh play of it, but all of a sudden, especially with a penalty and Kansas City's good defense on the last play, second down and 20. Collins to the air, more pressure, gets rid of it. Incomplete. Wanted Mills. Del Carter taking a bow after the play.
This time they blitzed again. They came after Collins again. You're going to see number 40, James Hasty, rushing there from the right side of your screen. He comes clean. Collins gets the pass off, but he feels the pressure from his backside.
And Gunther Cunningham, who said he had a lot of fun calling all those blitzes last week in the win over Buffalo. The game plan pretty obvious here. They're putting pressure on Collins.
They had success.
Just like they did Todd Collins last week.
Right.
Third down and 20. Anthony Johnson gets it underneath. Kansas City, though, there, and that'll bring up fourth down.
That time they just rushed 3 players and defended with 8, and all they wanted to do then was keep Kansas City from getting the first down. That'd have been a big play for Kansas City because they had a long way to go.
It's as if the Chiefs are just daring Collins to beat them one-on-one.
Right.
And now an injured player for Kansas City, that is Dumas, number 55, we believe it is.
Dumas has been a critical guy for him because Pelham McDaniels and Troy Dumas are the 2 players that have played for Derek Thomas when he's been out. And Dumas is a little bit more like Thomas because he's more the linebacker type, where McDaniels is more a defensive lineman type. So they get a guy in Dumas that can rush or drop, like a linebacker would, much like Thomas.
Well, there is Derek Thomas on the sidelines, again out with a torn tricep. Probably could have played in this game, but Marty Schottenheimer had made the comment, why mess with him this early in the season? Let's get him back when he's closer to 100%.
That's an excellent decision by Marty Schottenheimer. As a coach, you're tempted many times, hey, this is a big game, we got to get our best players on the field, but you stick him in there and he gets re-injured, now you've lost him for 4, 5, 6 games possibly this season. Get him well, get him 100%, and you got him for the rest of the year.
Selected to Pro Bowls in all 8 seasons. Currently ranks 14th in the NFL sack list. And the Chief defense will be that much better when they finally get him back in.
They've been pretty good without him.
Yeah, even better they'll be. As Walter was lining up for his 5th punt. Dale Hamer, we'll hear from him again. And as now they've organized him.
Ready?
Walter averaging about 47 yards a punt today. Boomed a 62-yarder last week. That was a team record. Canes this one up high, and Vanover hauls it in at the 19-yard line. Kansas City will begin there. 2:28 left in the third. They lead at 21-7. Head coach of Carolina, Dom Capers, really in a great situation here at Ericsson Stadium, state-of-the-art stadium. Went into his office yesterday. He's got a pull-out king-size bed in there, Jim, as Kansas City begins this series. And flags come in.
His wife is a flight attendant for United Airlines. She has been for a long time. So she travels Tuesday to Thursday. So she's gone Tuesday and Wednesday night. And Dom Capers just spends those 2 nights in his own little locker room. You know, he's got a big king-size bed in there.
Everything he needs. He's got a refrigerator. He's got the equipment people that come in and do laundry if he needs it done. He just crashes.
Got his TV in there. He can...
Yeah, the breakfast training line in the morning. I mean, this guy could live at Ericsson Stadium and be perfectly fine.
And knowing Dom Capers like I do, he almost does live at it.
How many, you hear about all these coaches spending nights at work. Did you do that?
Never spent all night. Never did. The only time I'd spend all night, we'd come back late on a Monday night, I wouldn't go home.
Maybe you didn't have a nice roll-out king-size bed.
I never did. Never did.
Kimball Anders with the carry for Kansas City on a long 1st and 20 call after the penalty, which was a holding call against the Chiefs. Again, they're up 21-7. 2 minutes left here in the third, and in control.
Dom Capers is a workaholic type guy. You know, he's very organized, very detailed. Takes a lot of time. He came into work yesterday morning at 5:30 to prepare for a 9 o'clock team meeting. Go over his notes, make sure he said the right thing.
This guy's in great shape, too. I mean, this guy's like a V from his shoulders down to his waist. I don't know where he has the time to work out. Gerbach on 2nd and 13 buys a little bit of time and just loops it over, throws it away. But that was a good example of how Elvis Gerbach can move, find that extra second, and save a sack.
Paul Hackett, the offensive coordinator, said he likes, one of the things he likes about Elvis Gerbach is that he is mobile for a big guy, and he can throw the ball from different body positions. He doesn't have to be set and in a perfect position to throw the ball. He could be falling to his right, falling to his left, falling backwards. He can still get good arm strength and good accuracy.
Gerbach a little used to the Carolina Panthers defensive scheme since his days in San Francisco, but now faced with 3rd and 13 here. Finds a little more time to his left. Goes downfield, and that one almost picked off. He wanted Rison. Stepping in front was Poole again, who already has a nice interception earlier. Dangerous pass there, Jim, by Gerbach.
Yeah, that was not a good decision on Gerbach's part right there. He's looking downfield. There's really nobody open. What he should have done right there is thrown it out of bounds. You throw it out of bounds, you come back and you know, you don't take the sack. You don't need to do that. Just get it out of bounds. Don't take a chance, especially down here in your territory.
So 4th down and long. Aguiar to punt. Carolina trying to take advantage of good field position again. Poole is back there from the 35. And smothered at the 35-yard line. Flag is down. It was a 48-yard punt by Aguiar, no return by Poole, and Del Hamer will tell us about the flag. Or will he?
I don't think there was a flag.
There was not a flag. First, it seemed to be that there was a flag.
They had a couple guys down here on the 30-yard line that were kind of having a little bit of a skirmish, but there's no flag.
Well, it's good not to hear from Dale.
That's right.
Ball at the 36. Carolina trails at 21-7. Closing moment here of the third quarter. Panthers need to get it back in gear on offense. And a fumble. The ball is loose. Collins is hit. The ball is still loose. Kansas City says they have it, and the indication is that they do. Costly turnover by the Panthers.
Very, very costly. This is a huge play for the Kansas City defense. 21-7. Third quarter almost over. Get great field position here.
Pocket just caved in on Collins, and I believe it was 92. Dan Williams, Jim?
There's 92, Dan Williams, the right side of your screen. All he does there is he just beats Matt Elliott. He beats number 52, Matt Elliott, and knocks the ball loose.
It was a mad scramble for it. And the Chiefs in business with great field position. Marcus Allen with the call.
If they get some points here, you know, it's going to really put a lot of pressure on Carolina. They're having a little bit of a struggle offensively anyway, but if they get some points here, it's going to get Carolina in a situation where they're going to have to throw almost every down.
That is the third turnover of the game for the Panthers, while Kansas City has just one, the Elvis Gerbach interception. But 2 interceptions now and a lost fumble by the Panthers. Second down, Gerbach looking for the tight end Popson, and he's inside the 10 down to the 8. First and goal for Kansas City in the closing seconds of the third, brought down by Pat Terrell.
We talked earlier about how with all these new players that there's, you know, Gerbach's having to learn what Rising can do, what Perryman can do. One guy he doesn't have to know what he can do is Ted Popson, because they were teammates at San Francisco for a few years.
That was the 6th catch for Popson. In the meantime, Terrell, free safety for Carolina, number 40, is down on the field. And, you know, we thought we were going to be calling Wesley Wall's name all day. Now we're calling a lot of Ted Popson, the tight end for Kansas City. As you take a look at some of the other scores around the league, New England out in front 17-3. Green Bay trying to survive a furious rally. Baltimore on top of the Oilers, and your old team, the Saints, in command against Detroit.
They were due to break loose. All they had to do was hang on to that football. They had 19 turnovers in 3 games, and, you know, I knew when they got that problem solved, they'd score some points.
By the way, Green Bay had a 31-7 lead over Minnesota in that game, but Minnesota has now scored 18 points to the Packers 7 and have tightened that game up.
Yeah, it's 31-7 at halftime, so wow. Minnesota's coming back.
And another reminder, join us next weekend in Spain on NBC. The Ryder Cup matches. The United States wants to bring it back to the States after losing at Oak Hill a couple of years ago. Really an unprecedented Ryder Cup. More attention on this Ryder Cup than ever before. There are the coverage times, Saturday at 12 noon, and then 8 Eastern time on Sunday, the dramatic Sunday singles matches where the Cup will be decided. And Pat Terrell is up on his feet for the Panthers. But it is Kansas City in command, first and goal at the 7-yard line as the final seconds tick off here in the third quarter. Kansas City up 21-7, looking for more. Back after a message from your local stations.
This telecast is presented by the authority of the National Football League and is intended for the private use of our audience. Any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the NFL is prohibited.
Kansas City first and goal at the 7, trying to extend its lead. Marcus Allen gets the call, and he's inside the 5 down to the 3. And really, the Carolina fans here are a little stunned, Jim. This is a team that went 9-0 last year. Really, just the Green Bay Packers and the Carolina Panthers went unbeaten at home, including the playoffs last year. The only 2 in the league to do it. They lost their opener this year against the Washington Redskins, and so, boy, 2 losses and these first 2 home games of the season would be shocking.
Well, they're giving these fans a taste of reality in the NFL, you know.
Second and goal from the 3. Gerbach, touchdown Kansas City, and this time it is 49, Tony Richardson. And that's Tony Richardson's 2nd touchdown reception of the season.
They ran the same play last week against Buffalo and threw the same pass to Tony Richardson for the first touchdown of his season, and this was the 2nd one, exactly the same play. As I said earlier, he's a blocker for him, and then they stick him in there in that goal line situation. The defense thinks he's a blocker, and they sneak him out on the flat, and they hit him for the score.
And that is the 3rd touchdown pass for Gerbach. Stoyanovich adds on the extra point, and Kansas City has some good breathing room at 28-7 now.
Here's Richardson right here, lined up in the fullback position. He pretends like he's going to block, then he gets out here in the flat. Gerbach hits him.
Tony Richardson, free agent, signed originally by Dallas in his 3rd year. He was signed as a free agent for the Chiefs back a couple of years ago. And he adds another touchdown, bringing it 28-7. Greg with another scoring update in New York.
All right, Dan, over at the Meadowlands, big turnaround. Cole Ford's field goal attempt blocked by Corwin Brown, picked up by Ray Mickens, and he goes 72 yards for the touchdown to tie the game at 22. The extra point puts the Jets on top of the Oakland Raiders, 23-22. Still a lot of time to play. 10 minutes to play in the fourth quarter, Dan.
Thank you, Greg. Looks like the Jets are in for another dramatic finish after losing when it appeared they were going to beat New England last Sunday night.
They've had some wild games so far early in the season, and this is a pretty good football team. They're certainly a much better football team than their record indicated last year, and Bill Parcells and his staff have gone in there and done a good job with the personnel that they have. Pretty impressive showing here by Kansas City as well today, huh? On the road, Carolina. Yeah, very impressive. This will be their second straight road win after, no, they played Buffalo at home last week.
Michael Bates brings it out. Stoyanovic's kick. All the way across the field and has Stoyanovich gets by him and gets it quickly into Kansas City territory. So a breath of hope for Carolina after that 51-yard kickoff return by Michael Bates. It's been said a lot of times, but just blazing speed, bronze medalist in the Olympics in the 200 meters in Barcelona. With players like Bates and Vanover as return people here for the kicking game, it's really only a matter of time before one of these guys is going to break one, and Bates did a good job right there. And like you say, if he can get out in that open, there's not many players that are going to catch him. And he is tough. I mean, rarely do you get a track guy that has the toughness for football. Right, this is very unusual. Normally, you think of a sprinter, you know, being a kind of a lightweight build and not a real physical guy and not somebody that wants to go out and make contact and hit people. But Michael Bates is a guy that can run fast and is extremely tough. One of their not only is he a good return player for the special teams, he's one of their better cover people on kickoff coverage and punt coverage. Both these teams put so much pride in the special teams. As you look at Dale Carter shaken up on that return by Bates. Dale Carter had been nursing a tender ankle earlier in the season, and we asked Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator, if Dale Carter was finally getting ready to play, and he said, well, you know, when Dale Carter starts talking trash in practice like he did this week, he's ready to go. So a little shaken up there. Now, speaking of Dale Carter and talking trash, I read that he's got a young son, Dale Carter Jr., and somebody asked him, well, how about your son? How would you feel if he talks trash? And Dale Carter says, when he plays T-ball or Little League football, I want him talking trash. Well, it's premiere week on NBC, and on Tuesday, the Mad About You Baby comes home in a must-see event. Then it's the premiere of News Radio, plus the Emmy-winning Best Comedy Frasier returns, followed by Just Shoot Me, a big night of must-see TV, premieres Tuesday on NBC. Well, a beautiful overcast day here in Charlotte. They had been experiencing very hot weather, but temperatures at game time about 70 degrees. Beautiful day for football in this beautiful stadium framed against the skyline of downtown Charlotte. And Jim, we had a chance to walk through the halls of this beautiful facility, and it is the model by which others try to get to. You know, when there's more and more teams now that are building new stadiums, and I'm sure of this, when any team wants to see what a stadium should look like and what facilities look like, they're going to come here and say, hey, we got to copy this. Carolina trying to take advantage of the Michael Bates return. It's set up at the Kansas City 49-yard line. Collins will go right to the air. He trails at 28-7. Kansas City giving the Panther receivers, and in this case Anthony Johnson, a little bit of breathing room, but still couldn't hook up. Yeah, it still amazes me, even though we've talked a lot about Wesley Walls and how he hasn't been a factor today in the passing game and that the Kansas City Chiefs are doing a good job of defending. Collins is not even looking at him, and on that last play there, Walls was lined up in the backfield, got out on a route and was wide open, but Collins didn't even look for him. No receptions. Amazing for a guy that came in leading the tight ends in reception yards in the entire NFL coming in. And that one deflected connected at the line of scrimmage. Nothing going right. Collins can't even get a completion here with Kansas City backing off.
He can, and that time they had two players on Wesley Walls. They had Donnie Edwards, number 59, and Anthony Davis, the two linebackers, and they had him bracketed. Edwards was on the outside and Davis was on the inside. They had him totally covered. Here's Wesley Walls right here coming downfield. You'll see number 59 on the outside, number 50 on the inside. Edwards and Davis got him blanketed.
3rd and 10. Collins feels some heat, gets rid of it, picked off. And loose down the sidelines, who could go all the way, is Mark McMillan, number 29. That will rub salt into the wounds of Kerry Collins today.
You see that big smile on McMillan's face there in the end zone? This is a young man that loves to play football. Look at him celebrating right there. He enjoys playing football.
62-yard return by the 5'7" McMillan.
No question that Collins forced that in there. Number 83, Mark Carrier, was well covered right there. He should not have thrown that football.
And you know when you can high step about 20 yards short of the goal line.
And if anybody would do the high stepping, it'd be McMillan.
It would be McMillan.
Good young guy.
Kansas City in control.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by American Express. Wherever you are, whatever you're doing, American Express helps you do more. By PlayStation, a bit of advice for gamers everywhere. Never underestimate the power of PlayStation. And by Radio Shack, you've got questions, we've got answers.
Kansas City up 35-7. It was Mark McMillan who ended the Buffalo threat late in the game last week with an interception with just 3 seconds left, and he's really put icing on this Kansas City victory. Apparent victory with 13:42 left. With his second interception of the season, Michael Bates trying to rip off another good return for Carolina, give them another decent chance, does so. Across the 40, gets by Stoyanovich, cuts back to the left. Bates still on his feet, needs a couple of blocks, and he's going to go all the way. Well, maybe the rest of the Panthers haven't done their job today, but Michael Bates has. There is a flag back at the 30.
Holding. Number 30. On the return. 10 yards. First down.
It's coming back. It's on the rookie, Mike Minter, number 30. And it came early in the play, Jim.
Yeah, number 30, Mike Minter, the player they really like. He plays defensive back for him, came early in the play. You know, it wasn't a really obvious hold there. He kind of, I think what he did was grabbed his jersey with his right hand.
I might have expected that hold would have come later in the run when there was all that traffic, and Bates made those brilliant cutback moves, got a couple of blocks, and maybe that's where the penalty would be. But early on, when Bates really didn't even need it.
Yeah, I've seen worse than that not called, though. And I'm not saying it wasn't a good call because he did hold him, but, you know, and a lot of times the officials say, okay, what got the guy going? What got the guy going? Right there, you'll see on the left-hand side of your screen, right there. He is grabbing him. Yeah, he's pulling him. See, he's keeping he's keeping the Kansas City defender from making the tackle. It's an obvious call.
What a run by Bates.
Yeah, good run.
It'd be nice to see the rest of the run. I mean, that was the key of the replay, but what a run by Bates.
That was a good call by the official because it had a very much of an impact on the play and the fact that Bates was able to get going and make the return.
On the play, Richardson, who just caught a touchdown pass, was shaken up on the play. He seems to be all right as he heads off the field, but Mike Minter with a costly penalty, bringing back the Michael Bates kickoff return for what would have been a touchdown. And there's Bates.
You know, I noticed on the scores that we get up here that his brother, Mario Bates, who's the starting running back for the New Orleans Saints, is having a pretty good day.
20, trailing 35-7. Right up the middle is Biaka Batuka, and he picks up an impressive first down.
That's a good way to start a drive, but they're going to have to get that ball in the air. Now they're into their hurry-up offense right here, their no-huddle offense, and this is good. They're going to have to do this to get back in the ball game.
Biaka Batuka, when he's been in there, has been very impressive. Scott Green with the reception across the 35-yard line, but it has not been a good day at all for Kerry Collins. And you mentioned that sometimes you have that good game in your first game back, and then the second game comes up and bites you a little bit.
Right, it happens. I've seen it happen a lot with the player. You know, he missed a lot of time, comes back and has a tremendous game, and then this game he's just really struggled. You know, sometimes you think, well, I'm back where I need to be, and he really isn't.
4 turnovers by Carolina, and Collins has had a part in all of them. 3 interceptions. He was sacked, and Kansas City recovered the fumble. There's a look at his numbers today, but it is those 3 interceptions and the crucial fumble on the sack, which have been pivotal to Kansas City building this big second-half lead.
Yeah, the completion percentage isn't too bad, 17 of 36, but those 3 interceptions are what kill you.
It was only 14-7 Kansas City at halftime. Collins rifles it in, and that one is complete at the 48-yard line to Ernie Mills, signed as an unrestricted free agent by Carolina in the offseason.
Kansas City now is playing. They're not probably at this point. They're not coming with the blitz. They're coming with the 4-man rush. They're playing zone behind it, and Collins has got a little bit more time to throw.
That one complete out to the 32-yard line. The rookie Caruth. Now they're saying incomplete.
I'll tell you what Kansas City's going to do there. If Carolina starts moving that football, then they're going to start coming back with the blitzes and putting some pressure on Collins. That's what they've been most successful with this year, getting their corners up in a bump and run press type of alignment and coming after them with 5 and 6 rushers.
While Marty Schottenheimer and the Chiefs get ready to host the Seattle Seahawks, these fans here in Carolina, this is not the way they wanted to meet the San Francisco 49ers in a big Monday night football game coming up next on their schedule. Collins again has time, completes to Mark Carrier, and Carrier gets it down close to the 10-yard line. Down to the 11 for Carrier.
We keep talking about Wesley Walls not catching a pass, but what's happening right here, they've got 2 people on Wesley Walls right there. They got a linebacker and the strong safety, and what that's doing is that's freeing up, putting man-to-man coverage on the wide receivers, and what they have there. When they got a safety on the tight end, then that puts a one man-on-man coverage with the corners, and the wide receivers are getting open.
Again, Carolina dealing without Musa Muhammad, who is out up to 4 weeks with a broken wrist. Carrier signed this week in the lineup along with the rookie Ray Caruth, and down goes Collins again. Ball is loose, recovered by Carolina. Anthony Johnson. 55, Troy Dumas came in and leveled Collins.
Gunther Cunningham said, hey, enough is enough. You know, we got to get him stopped. So he put the blitz on. Here comes Donnie Edwards right there. Troy Dumas came in from the right side, got the hit on Collins and knocked the ball loose.
And his helmet off.
Helmet off, that's right. Good hit. Wow. Good hit.
3rd sack on Collins. 2nd and long, and was Carrier interfered with? Yes, by number 23.
That was number 23, Clyde Johnson, and again, he was in man-to-man coverage on Carrier, and he did interfere. You know,
Pass interference on the defense, number 23, first down.
There he is right there, 23. He's grabbing him there initially, which he can do up to 5 yards, but he stays with that contact a little bit too long and got that left arm wrapped around him. Good call by the official.
Johnson, free agent rookie out of Kansas State. First down and 10, ball at the Kansas City 25-yard line. 10:50 left. Carolina in a huge hole. That one incomplete, intended for Ernie Mills.
Well, this, get to a point here in the game where Collins, he's got to make some plays here. They got to make some plays in the passing game. They got to give him a little protection. And when they're just rushing 4, he's getting good protection. But when Kansas City comes with the blitz, they're putting the pressure on him. They're making him throw quick.
Quick pump by Collins and just lofts it up. That'll be another interception. That is Collins' 4th interception of the game. Jerome Woods has that one. Pella McDaniels provided the pressure and really prompted Collins to just float it up. And now, fans here in Carolina not happy at all with the Panthers today.
The NFL on NBC is brought to you by Domino's Pizza. Call now to enjoy a hot, delicious Domino's Pizza during the game. For hot and wow, call Domino's now.
You get a good rush here by the left tackle, number 77, Pella McDaniels. What they're doing with the line is Garrido there should have blocked him, but Pelham gets off the ball quick and puts the pressure on Collins. They tried to get a little slant fake to the receiver, but they didn't fool anybody in that secondary, and Collins shouldn't have thrown it.
So Kansas City from the 26, Kimball Landers with a carry left side, breaks a couple of tackles and gets it up to the 40-yard line and quickly picks up a first down and will quickly step aside to New York and Greg Gumbel.
All right, Dan, we'll take the opportunity to tell you about Vinny Testaverde having a terrific afternoon. This is his 3rd touchdown pass of the day. 16 yards to Jermaine Lewis. He's thrown for over 300 yards. And Baltimore about to win their 2nd straight on the road after losing all 8 last year. 33-10 in the 4th. Dan.
Thank you, Greg. And Kansas City about to win its 2nd on the road. They beat Oakland in a dramatic Monday night affair, 28-27. Greg Hill gets the carry, and really a lot of credit for the game plan today, and Kansas City's defensive performance today has to go to that man, Gunther Cunningham, in the tinted yellow glasses there. He said this is really the best group of defensive players he has ever been around, and this guy's been in the business a long time.
He's been in the business a long time. He's been around a lot of good defensive teams. He says this is the fastest defense he's ever been around, and it's the best group from a standpoint of practice habits and playing hard in a football game. That's quite a tribute.
Funny story about Gunther Cunningham last week. We'll get to it after this play. Little inside handoff to Kimball Landers. Gunther Cunningham called 4 straight blitzes against Buffalo last week, and we asked him if he could just take us through it, and he said, well, you know, it was fairly quiet in the headphones as I was calling all these blitzes because nobody could quite believe that I was doing it at that crucial moment of the ball game with Buffalo perhaps driving for the game-winning touchdown. But after the game, and really probably one of the greatest moments in his coaching career, his family usually goes with him on the road. They were not there to celebrate it with him, so he kind of went into the locker room, had a quick beer with the guys, got back on the road on the freeway, and was just so totally exhausted and still into the game, looked up through his sunroof on his car and almost hit a car in front of him on the freeway that he was just so still into the game that he had just coached. But he has done a marvelous job with his Kansas City defense and inserting the new faces and the younger talent on it.
You know that they've got 4 starters from the 1996 draft. The first 4 players from the 96 draft are starting on this defensive team, so it's a young defensive team. It's Jerome Woods, the safety, was the #1 pick. Reggie Tung, the strong safety, was the #2 pick. John Browning, the defensive end, was the #3 pick, and the 4th pick, the linebacker, Donnie Edwards.
And they're high on all 4 of them.
Very much so.
So Aguiar to punt it away with 7:50 and counting left here in the contest. Kansas City in command 35-7 with 21 unanswered points here in the second half. This is Tyrone Poole, who dodges a chief and is smothered at the 30. Kansas City on its way to its 3rd victory of the season. Well, to underline just how shocking this loss will be for Carolina, look at the second half points given up at home last season. They set an NFL record with a total of only 56 points given up all last season in the second half. Today, 21 alone here at home. Collins, who's thrown 4 interceptions, on the mark there at the 40-yard line to Ray Caruth. But boy, this will be one that Dom Capers may spend a few nights in that pull-out bed at the stadium with. He's going to think about this for a while.
He might sleep there Monday and Thursday nights besides Tuesday and Wednesday.
Carolina keeping it on the ground. Anthony Johnson.
On the field.
You've seen Bianca Batuka play today, and in the flashes that he's been in there, he's been rather impressive. But it's been Anthony Johnson who's carried most of the load today, but 11 carries, just 39 yards. Collins dumps it over the middle to Johnson, and he can't hang on.
You know, Dan, the Carolina team accomplished so much last year. You think about 12-4 season, winning an NFC championship, setting records like 56 points in the second half. You know, you can't do those things again and again and again. Reality catches up with you. And, you know, you're going to go through days like this, and it's happening. And for some of these players, some of these young players, it's like they're thinking, oh, God, we can do it again this year. And you just can't. And Dom Capers realizes that right there. He says, hey, we're not going to do this again.
Saw the graphic, 4 interceptions for Collins. He threw 9 all of last year in the run to the championship game. Ray Caruth has been the target often of Collins today, and you don't want to belabor it, but if Wesley Walls doesn't catch one pass in this game, that was just remarkable.
Very remarkable, and I think, you know, maybe they should have started going to Walls earlier in the game, and that, you know, might have opened things up a little bit more for him. But really, you got to give credit to the Chiefs' defense, because they've really taken Walls out of this offense. They've had 2 guys on him a lot.
That one again complete to Ray Caruth. You know, coming into this game, it was Walls who was the only Panther to score a touchdown all season long.
Yeah, he scored 3 touchdowns coming into this game. That's the only touchdowns they had. I think what the Chiefs are saying, what Gunther Cunningham is saying, hey, let them try to beat us with their wide receivers. We like our matchups with Carter and Hasty on their wideouts. We like that. They can't beat us doing that all day.
In the meantime, that's the 7th catch for Ray Caruth inside the 20 now. 5:50 and rolling. Caruth, that puts him right at an even 100 yards on the game. As a Kansas City player is down, we'll be right back.
If you're really serious about sports,
Kansas City about to move to 3-1, and Carolina about to move to an even 2-2. Collins for the end zone, and guess who finally caught a catch, and it's for a touchdown. Wesley Walls. And it comes with 5:46 left in the game.
Well, you knew that it would be very difficult for them to go a whole game and not get one reception to Walls, and it might be a case of a little bit too late in the ball game. Right there, though, they had Walls singled up. They had Walls. He probably, what Capers is talking to Collins right there is, well, they're not going for 2. I thought maybe they were going for 2, but they're going to kick it. But he's probably just going to say, hey, we did a good job. You brought him down. You're not letting Collins lose his confidence at this point.
And it is the 4th touchdown reception for Wesley Walls. And another look.
Here's Walls right there. He's getting single coverage. No, not quite. He's got the safety coming over there, too. That's just a nice pass by Collins. A real good pass, because he actually had 2 guys looking at him right there. Right there. Good pass by Collins. Right out there in the fingertips. Makes that difficult to defend.
Collins with finally something to cheer about.
This game might be a little bit humbling for him, and it might be good for him. You know, we talked about him earlier, Dan, you know, a little maturity, and sometimes you get a little bit too cocky. You like your quarterbacks to be cocky, but, you know, maybe after coming back last week and having a great game and all the nice things were said about him and not doing too well today, just over the long haul, you don't like to see yourself lose a game and your quarterback not do well, but over the long haul, it might be good for him. If you want to win the game here, if Carolina wants to win the game, which I'm sure they do, they're gonna onside kick. I was going to say they better onside kick. They got to get that ball back.
So they set up strong to the right. John Casey set up for the onside kick. And the flag is down. It might have been touched before it traveled 10 yards by a Panther. We'll wait and see for the official call, but you have to let it go 10 yards unless it is touched by the opponents.
That's right. A Kansas City player, the receiving team can touch the ball or recover the ball before it goes 10 yards. And if he does that, then a Carolina player can recover it. But the kicking team cannot touch it or recover it before it goes 10 yards.
Well, while they sort it out, let's see if we can pick it up.
Might have been an offsides on Carolina. It looked like one of their players over there on the right was across that line before the ball was kicked.
You're right, and it was a Kansas City player who touched it, so it's fair game for a Panther player. So maybe it was offsides on the Panthers. Dale Hammer.
Kickoff. Out of bounds. First short free kick will be re-kicked by rule.
Okay, this is the ball was kicked out of bounds, and when it's an onside kick and the first kick goes out of bounds, the kicking team gets a re-kick. Now, if it goes out of bounds again, then the receiving team gets the ball where it goes out of bounds. A lot of coaches in the league think this is unfair to the receiving team in a situation like this, where the kicking team's trying to get the ball back. They make the mistake of kicking it out of bounds. They shouldn't get the reward to get to kick it again. But the National Football League feels like this is an exciting part of the game, the end of the game. Give them another chance.
So they move it back.
So they move it back 5 yards and they get another kick. Now this time, if it goes out of bounds, Kansas City gets it.
Sounds like you've dealt with this situation.
I've dealt with this, and I don't particularly like the rule.
I knew that was coming. Here we go again.
What the fuck is he looking at?
Ball is loose. Panthers last touched it, but it's out of bounds, and it was Bates who had a swipe at it.
Ball is out of bounds.
Kansas City's ball.
Yep. With 5:35 left. It was there for the taking.
Yeah, good kick. You know, when you get that hit into the ground and then bounce up high like that, it goes over the receiving team's heads. Michael Bates had a great shot at it right there. He couldn't have advanced that. You can't advance it. Wherever he grabbed it there, that would have been their ball.
Oh, we see a couple of flags down. I don't know what they're talking about. It was just the out of bounds indication. All right. So ball squarely at midfield. Kansas City would just grind more yardage off the clock. Well, earlier in the game, we told you about the story of way back with the Philadelphia Stars, the signing of Sam Mills. And you go way back with that man, the general manager now, CEO, president of Kansas City Chiefs, Carl Peterson, was in that van offering that giant $250 bonus to Sam Mills to sign him with the Stars. But this guy has a really great personnel football mind.
Great personnel mind. And the thing about Carl Peterson, from a head coaching standpoint, he always will give you every opportunity to be successful. You need players, he'll get you players. You need facilities, he'll get you facilities. He knows what it takes to win, and he's going to make it available to you as a head coach. He's a great guy to have as your GM.
And you guys didn't lose much back then with the Stars.
He had a heck of a football team.
In fact, when we talked about it this week, everybody that was involved with the Stars mentioned that it was the funnest coaching situation really that they've ever been in.
You know why? We won all the time. The first year in 1983, we were 18-3 and lost the championship game. 19-2 the next year and won a championship and won it a third time. It's fun when you win. This is a fun business when you win.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not when you lose.
Right. Third down and 2 for the Chiefs. Already with this game in the bag at 35-14. And Coming up next on most of these NBC stations, Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. It is John Elway and the Denver Broncos as the Broncos look to contain the powerful offense of Cincinnati and Jeff Blake. That's an intriguing matchup at Mile High Stadium. And then the Colts take on the Buffalo Bills. It's been a long season for the Colts so far.
Colts have not scored an offensive touchdown in 3 games, and they have not been able to give Harbaugh much protection. And today they got to go up that pass rush from the Bills. You know, Pop and Smith and.
Kansas City contained Smith last week for no sacks when Kansas City beat Buffalo. But you know you're not going to contain Bruce Smith very long with those 2 rookies that the Colts have on the offensive line. Could be a long day.
Yeah, it sure could be. And that's the Colts' problem. They're just having a real tough time on that offensive line.
New England looking good. 4-0. No problem with the Bears. And Minnesota had a furious comeback rally against Green Bay. At last check, there were like 8 touchdown passes in that game before the Packers finally held them off. Baltimore big.
That's a little bit surprising to me right there, that score. No, not this one, but well, that is too a little bit. But the one before that, I thought the Oilers would beat Baltimore.
That is Donnell Bennett getting some of the carries for Kansas City here in the waning moments. And that brings us to our Miller game summary. Well, you see the current score in the 4th quarter. Elvis Gerbach, 3 touchdown passes for him, 1 interception, and that glaring statistic for Kerry Collins, 4 interceptions, 5 total Carolina turnovers, and that very unexpected from a team that prides itself in that department.
Right. They've been very successful in their history here of 2 and a 4th seasons of winning the turnover battle most of the time when they played. When they've won the turnover battle, they've been 21-5.
2-minute warning. Well, finally a breather for Marty Schottenheimer after the last couple of weeks. The last second win in the Monday night game against Oakland. Holding off Buffalo last week in this home opener 22-16. And different story here with 35-14 at the 2-minute warning. And a look at the upcoming schedule for the Chiefs. And you'll be doing the Chiefs and Seahawks next weekend at Arrowhead.
Yeah, that's going to be a good game. And talking to Marty Schottenheimer yesterday, I almost got the impression in the conversation that he felt next week's game was more important than today's game. You know, being a division game and Seattle coming in there and all. He said, hey, next week's the one that's going to be tough and the one we got to win. You know, almost like he was, I don't want to say giving up on this one, but and I'm sure he wasn't. But his team played well today.
Interesting game. I mean, a lot of us. I mean, you might peg Carolina to win this game if you were picking it. They were favored. As Elvis Gerbach continues to work and stretching for the end zone. No, he's going to be called down. That is 82, Derek Walker, the backup tight end for Kansas City. Gain of 22. He used to be the starter for Kansas City at tight end.
And Derek Walker has been the blocking tight end for Kansas City so far this year. He's been the one, there he's foot stepping out of bounds right there. Good call by the official. But as I said, the tight ends that they like to throw to have been Popson and Gonzalez, and we haven't heard Gonzalez's name called one time. They hadn't caught a pass, and they really like that. He's their #1 draft pick this year from Cal. They think he's going to be a great player, but he hasn't done much today.
Yeah, he came into this game with 6 catches and haven't called his number all day. Right up the middle is Bennett. Kansas City could run it up even more here, get into the 40s. Just a terrible home loss for the Panthers.
Tough home loss and tough on that Carolina defense. You know, Vic Fangio, the coordinator, there's been a lot of talk about the Carolina defense, how good they were last year. In talking to Vic Fangio prior to this game, during the week, he's got some concern about this defense. He doesn't think they're quite as quick and as fast as they were last year. A little worried about the team speed on defense.
Dom's team dominated here in Charlotte today. Well, that'll be short on 3rd down and goal. A minute left.
Another thing about this Carolina defense, Dan, is they're a little bit long in the tooth. They're a little bit old, you know. I'm using a phrase Jim Finch used to use, long in the tooth. But They're a little bit old. They got 2 defensive linemen. 2 of their starting defensive linemen have announced their retirement. Greg Cragen, their nose tackle, and Gerald Williams, their defensive right end. They said this is their last year. They need some young blood in there. They need some young players.
And when we're talking to Sam Mills, we seem to get the indication. A lot of people don't know if this will be his last year. He gave us all the indications that this is going to be it for Sam Mills. And this is a nice touch by Marty Schottenheimer and the Chiefs. I mean, you're up 35-14. No sense in running it up past 40 in a game like this, and that will be the final play.
You know, some coaches would have tried to score there. I've been in that situation where teams have tried to score on a team I've been, against us. And Marty's a class coach and a class guy, and he would never do something like that.
And a class game for the Kansas City Chiefs, who come onto the road and hammer the defending NFC West champions 35-14. Now stay tuned for Game 2 of our NFL doubleheader. For Jim Moore, I'm Dan Hicks saying so long from Charlotte. The NFL on NBC is a presentation of NBC Sports, home of the Super Bowl.